What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show here on a Thursday night. The Blazers take care of business on the road once again, beating the New Orleans Pelicans 106-95. 106-95, the Blazers move to 4-1 on this 6-game road trip. A very successful road trip so far. And the Blazers were shorthanded tonight. It did not matter. They take care of their Western Conference rival, the New Orleans Pelicans. We got to see CJ. We didn't get to see Dame, unfortunately. And in the end, that did not matter. Did not matter. Eric might be able to join us at some point, but this might be a solo stream, but I will bring the energy for you guys because I am super hyped at what the Portland Trail Blazers are doing right now. They're playing phenomenal basketball and pick up another win. They are 9-3 on the season. We talked about November being a tough month in road games and how that might be a struggle for the Portland Trail Blazers. It doesn't matter. They are 6-1 on the road. After struggling on the road last year, they're not struggling this year. They're playing phenomenal basketball. But before we jump into this post-game stream, this is the Blazers Uprise post-game show presented by BetOnline. You can use promo code BELIEVE to receive 50% rewards. BetOnline is where we use our picks against the spread stuff on Mondays and Thursdays. We got our spread straight from them. They had New Orleans as an 8.5-point favorite. And I thought that spread was a little high. I took the Blazers, and you could have taken the Blazers as well and received 50% rewards if you had used promo code BELIEVE. But you still have time to get those rewards if you want to go over to BetOnline and use that promo code. And you can get in on some of the NBA action. Anyway, guys, we are witnessing something truly special right now. It is foreign territory for me with this channel to have this much positivity constantly over the course of the season. 9-3, I'm at a loss for words, man. I'm struggling to describe this. Let me thank a couple donos and then I'll get into this thing. Shout out to Oscar, $2 dono, says Small Ball D was great. Do you know the rating of it? I don't know. Hopefully somebody in chat knows. I will have an analytics video finally tomorrow because we finally have a day off, and I have a lot of good things to talk about in terms of the Blazers defense. Statistically is top 10 right now. Second straight game they held their opposing team to 95 points, and statistically their defense was phenomenal in the second half. They gave up 57 points in the first half. They only gave up 38 points in the second half. Drew Eubanks played phenomenal defense on Zion Williamson down the stretch. Jerami Grant, Justice Winslow, Josh Hart, Anthony Simons, Trendon Watford, Nassir Little, all these guys played phenomenal defensively. This was a game where the Blazers rested Damian Lillard. And it was a game in which Shaedon Sharpe was supposed to play, and they end up resting him. It was a finger issue, but he was probable. Then he doesn't play. Jusuf Nurkic out another game. I don't think he's hurt with anything serious. Second night of a back-to-back for the Blazers to go on the road against a Western Conference playoff team. That's what a lot of people view these New Orleans Pelicans as. To be able to go on the road, rest some guys, including their best player. They're still without their best defensive player. They were without their best big man, and then they were without their best rookie, right? They're just missing a boatload of guys. The Pelicans have pretty much everyone healthy and playing, and the Blazers win by double digits on the road. I am baffled in a good way at just how well this Portland Trailblazer team is playing. I can say with full confidence that this team is truly legitimate. We now have to start having the conversations as to whether or not this team is a true contender because they are playing like one right now. Later on in the season, it's going to be a lot of fun, hopefully, to play some weaker teams, but man, doesn't it feel good to beat a team like this in this sort of fashion, right? We talked about this tough schedule. I was worried about November. But getting wins like this, beating Miami on the road, beating Phoenix on the road, being shorthanded, buzzer beaters in both those games. The Charlotte game was a team we should have beat, but then second night of a back-to-back resting guys to beat the New Orleans Pelicans. Absolutely phenomenal. Let me fix the stats at the top of this slideshow. They are not currently correct. I am still trying to get caught up on things without Eric here. Eric is vacationing or visiting. I don't know. I don't even remember what Eric's doing, honestly. Maybe it's not a vacation. Eric's just out of town, and the Wi-Fi is not working good for him. But we do got Krish on graphics, and I'll answer a lot of questions about this team this stream. I'll interact more so than I usually do with the stream chat. Shout out Carter Dick with the $2 donation. Says, can't stay but go Blazers, you guys rule. Thank you, Carter. Appreciate the donation. Shout out Josh Sargent, $5 donation. Says, love this without Dame. Why do you think we are load managing so much? With Dame, he's fresh off an injury. I assume with Jusuf Nurkic, it's something that was bothering him, that they're just not going to make him play through it. And then Sharpe, I don't know. He's young and he's 19 and he's a rookie. You wouldn't think that he needs rest, but maybe the finger issue was a legitimate issue. It's just hard to say. But if this team can rest guys and still beat playoff caliber teams on the road, screw it, fine, rest guys. Like, I really wanted Damian Lillard versus CJ McCollum going into this game. Unfortunately, that matchup is going to have to wait until at least March. Hopefully those two guys are able to square off against each other in March. But you can get Dame some rest and still win by 11 on the road against a playoff team in the Western Conference. When has that ever been the case? When have we ever been able to do that? Not only rest Dame, but rest the guy who would have started for him, and then rest Jusuf Nurkic as well. I mean, in the past, it would have been, okay, we need 40 points from CJ because Mo Harkless, Al-Farouq Aminu aren't going to provide us any scoring, and this is where the style of play comes in that I talked about entering this season, where being able to move the ball offensively makes it easier when guys are missing. You don't have to rely on guys. Anthony Simons was 5 for 18 tonight. He struggled shooting the ball. He was able to get to the free throw line 8 times, which is good to see from him, but he struggled shooting the ball. But you had Detroit Piston Jerami Grant, because he played like a number 1 option tonight. In 42 minutes, he was a plus 20, which means the 6 minutes he did not play, the Blazers got outscored by 9. He was a plus 20. He was 10 for 20 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, 4 assists, 8 boards with his 27 points. The Pelicans had nobody that could match up against Jerami Grant in this game. They put Zion on him. Jerami Grant made Zion teleport to the side because he had such a nasty Allen Iverson-esque crossover that he turned into a quick dunk. Very explosive play. Zion could not stay in front of him. Brandon Ingram, even with all his length and fluidity, he was no problem for Jerami Grant today. Jerami Grant was the best player on the floor today, with 2 guys who have been all-stars on the other side of things, and then, of course, CJ McCollum, former Blazer, who is maybe one of the best players in the league right now, who's never been an all-star. CJ struggled tonight. We'll get into the Pelicans side of things and look at how they performed individually, but Jerami Grant absolutely carried this team. It's nice when you're missing your number 1 option, your number 2 option is struggling, to have your number 3 option be able to step up and be a number 1 option. Because the Blazers have never had that third guy that can step up and be the guy when they need him to be. Al-Farouq Aminu wasn't going to do that. Nurkic at times would have big games, but he was not a true number 1 scorer. Even if Dame and CJ were out, Nurkic is a big man, not going to control things from the perimeter, attack from the perimeter, knock down threes at a high clip. Jerami Grant is the Blazers' first number 3 option that can truly be a number 1 any given night, right? And Jerami Grant's had a couple of games that Damian Lillard has missed where he stepped up and had phenomenal performances. He had that game against the Suns where he had 30 points, hit a bunch of mid-range jumpers, hit the game winner. That hit 30 points in that game, 27 in this game. The Blazers are able to rest guys like Dame and even a guy like Simons in the future because they have a guy that can step up and be that number 1 option. Josh Hart tonight, 38 minutes. He had 17 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 7 for 13 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, only 1 turnover, 2 assists. Josh Hart has been more of a facilitator, and I've been asking him to shoot more. He shot more tonight. He was more aggressive as a scorer. This was more so Josh Hart that we saw from last season, and he stepped up and was a number 2 option today. Simon still put up 23 points on his 18 shots, so those 3 guys offensively are enough to get it done, and they were enough to get it done in this game. But Some of the ball movement they had in this game I thought was impressive. Justice Winslow has 6 assists. He had some nice passes. He also had some infuriating moments as well, 3 for 12. I'll talk about him a little bit more when we get to the player cards. But Drew Eubanks finishes with 6 points, 3 for 4 from the field. A couple nice dump-off passes to him that he was able to finish inside from a couple different guys. Nassir Little has a big game off the bench, 15 points, 6 for 11 from the field. So, Grant and Hart got it going, but this team played off each other, played with a ton of ball movement, 26 assists on their 37 shots. If it was an ISO-heavy offense, the Blazers don't score 100 points in this game. Sure, you have some moments, and Grant, even Hart occasionally ISOing, trying to take their guy one-on-one off the dribble. But the style of play this team is playing with right now makes these wins possible. Thank you to, Caleb Pendergraph, $10 donation, says, just rewatch the schedule breakdown, and it's crazy to think that the Blazers could drop the rest of the games in November and still be potentially on pace for a high 40 or 50 win season. Yes, I did a schedule breakdown before the season where I looked at strength of schedule and mathematically determined what a 500 team would do monthly based on a 500 pace, if that makes sense. Definitely go watch that video. I explain it better in there. But the month of November was supposed to be extremely difficult because out of 16 games, 11 of them are on the road. It's 16 games in 29 days, spanning from November 2nd to November 30th. So no rest, a ton of back-to-backs. This is one of them, on the road against a playoff caliber team. The Blazers play a lot of playoff caliber teams in this month. Doesn't matter. They win basketball games. I mean, it's just phenomenal. Thank you, Caleb Pendergraph, for the $10 donation. Shout out Jordan Baker, $5 donation for the third game in a row. Or I think it's, third game in a row. This is 3 wins in a row. This is 3 GG stickers in a row with the clapping hippopotamus. Thank you, Jordan, for the $5 sticker. Shout out Boba Kuma with a $5 donation. Says, I was watching the Pels broadcast and they kept going on about how they had scored over 110 points in every game to start the season. I didn't know that was true. I'm going to look at their schedule right now just to, looking at this right now. The Pelicans, this is what they scored. This is their scores for the entire season. 130, 124, 121, 113, 111, 112, 117, 114, 121, 122, 115, 95. 95 points for the Pelicans. Let's jump over to the team stats. Let's look at what they shot. ESPN. Nope. Shut up, ESPN. Let me mute everything on this page. Cool. Oh, you guys couldn't even hear it because I don't have Eric's audio in here. So you guys couldn't even hear ESPN. I was tripping for nothing. 42% from the field for the Pelicans. 36% from 3. It's not like they shot the ball terribly. They didn't shoot well from the field. They shot okay from 3, but most of their shots came inside the arc. They were 23 for 51 inside the arc, which is about 45%. That's not good on the Pelicans end. That's great on the Blazers side of things. Their interior defense without Jusuf Nurkic was extremely impressive today. Drew Eubanks was phenomenal protecting the rim. He had a couple really bad moments. I thought, like, he gave up an and one to Zion where he didn't really try and commit to the charge, but he also didn't get a hand up. But in that fourth quarter, Zion was struggling because Eubanks was standing him up, not letting him get his shoulder past him, was contesting all his shots well, and then the help side defense on Zion was extremely impressive there in the fourth quarter. The Blazers did a good job not letting guys get into the paint, and then their help defense was phenomenal all game long. And this is a Pelicans team that doesn't shoot the 3-ball super great. CJ's struggled. Zion's not much of a shooter. You got Valanciunas out there, Herb Jones. I think that could be the downfall of the New Orleans Pelicans, is the fact that they don't shoot threes super well. When you got a guy who's as physically dominant as Zion Williamson is, you want to be able to space out the floor around him to give him the space in order to attack. Zion did not have that space today, and the Pelicans don't have great shooters that'll make defenses pay for loading up, and the Blazers played to that, I thought. Really packed the paint well, but also didn't give up a ton of open threes. In the past, every game in which we talk about the Blazers packing the paint, not letting teams get stuff around the rim, the result most of the time is, okay, well, they're kicking out to open shooters and moving the ball and getting open threes off, and they have, 18, 19 threes, shooting 40% from behind the arc, and the Blazers gave up 120 points. There hasn't been a single game where it's felt entirely like that compared to previous years where the Blazers had that happen all the time. And that's because they play hard, right? They help, but then they rotate out, they run guys off the three-point line, they scramble well. Some of the effort they gave there in the fourth quarter was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It's crazy because this time last year, me and Eric were lamenting the effort that the Blazers gave, especially on the road. The effort was terrible on the road. And it was frustrating to sit here in post-game streams talking about, it just doesn't seem like these guys are playing too hard. They're being paid $18 million a year in Norman Powell's case. And he's out there not playing hard. Robert Covington chasing steals, getting out of position, and then not rotating back out, just falling apart. And Dame isn't himself, so he's not moving well. And we're just slow and ugly on the defensive end. It's crazy how different the team looks. And it's to be expected with the new players that the Blazers have on this roster. They got rid of some of the problems, but it's such a drastic difference. That fourth quarter, the Blazers played as hard as any team I've seen in a quarter all season long. And they had every excuse in this game to quit or to not show up. Second night of a back-to-back, you're without Dame, you are on the road against a tough team, going up against Zion Williamson. They could have made any mental excuse and checked themselves mentally out of this game, right? It could have been a situation where, Jerami Grant didn't play yesterday, but he was questionable for today, and then he ends up playing 42 minutes, but he plays all those minutes hard, right? Most teams, I feel like, in this type of game, missing who the Blazers were missing, don't show up and give that level of effort in the fourth quarter on the second night of a back-to-back. And I am extremely proud of how hard this team played. Because last year, I was miserable talking about effort every single post-game show. I was so tired about talking about a lack of effort. And now it's dude, these guys were swarming Zion, pouncing on the ball, blocking shots, playing passing lanes. They executed offensively down the stretch as well, but that's what this team has done all season long, no matter who they have in the game. They've been clutch. Josh Hart had some clutch fourth quarter buckets. Jerami Grant, of course. Simon's got going for a little bit there, but the defense and the hustle, that's how you win games shorthanded against playoff teams on the road. And it's transferring from home to the road. Shoot, if anything, the Blazers are playing harder on the road than maybe they have at home. We haven't seen them at home in a while, so I don't know, but my goodness, man, this team is phenomenal. Let me thank the rest of the donos we have on tap here. Shout out to Brian Tadovich for becoming a starter level member. Shout out to Brian. Shout out to Michael Cook, 23-month member message, says, love Watford's fit. High IQ, good defense, ball handler, and passer. Watford ended up playing in 8 minutes tonight, but had 4 points, couple of boards, 2 for 4 from the field, missed his 2 threes. I hope Watford at some point can figure out how to knock down threes, because then he's going to be... Oh, no, that's Walker's stats. I'm tripping. My bad. Watford played 26 minutes tonight. Yeah, I was going to say, I thought he played a lot more than that. Watford, 26 minutes, 2 points, but he filled up the stat sheet. 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, only a couple of turnovers. He had turnover issues in that Charlotte game. Just making the right play. And that's what's nice, is that even without some scoring punch with Sharpe, with Lillard out, you have guys on this team that don't need to score the ball to be effective. But you also have enough scoring to be able to withstand the loss of a Dame and a Shaedon Sharpe and a Jusuf Nurkic, right? Like, Sharpe's averaging almost 10 points per game. Nurkic's at, like, what, 15? Dame's, like, 28? How many points is that? That's 38. That's 53 points that they're missing per game with those three guys. But you got Grant, Hart, Simons. They can step up and be your top three options. And the other guys will get buckets in the flow of the offense. You just hope somebody steps up. It was Nas today. But then you got other guys that'll make the right pass, help the team get easy buckets. Watford did that tonight with his 4 assists. And then play defense, 3 steals. I'm happy Watford's back. I like Watford on this team. I think he fits really well on this team. A team that moves the ball, a team that mixes things up defensively. Watford's shown that he's an extremely smart defensive player. And then makes the right pass. Feeds guys, will cut, just do the little things. Doesn't need the ball. Doesn't ISO like crazy. Anyway, thank you for that dono. Or thank you for that member message, Michael Cook. Shout out Connor, $10 donation, says, Winslow's 6th month of the year, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm not going to go there on that, but he had good moments in this game. I don't want to talk about Winslow yet. I want to wait until we get to the player cards. But thank you, Connor, for that $10 donation. Because I'll be honest, Winslow frustrated me at points in this game. I thought in the first half, Winslow was terrible. In the second half, he was good. In the second half, he was good. In the first half, he was terrible simply because, that dude was missing layups and airballing threes. I wanted to save it to the player cards, but that dude was rough in the first half. Good in the second half. That's the Winslow experience. Shout out Brian Tadovich, $5 donation, says, in the Dame era, this team feels like they actually play as a unit and it doesn't matter who scores. The chemistry is surreal. Eubanks is now Eubanks. Shout out to Brian for the $5 donation. That's what I said in previous years, is if you have a good style of play, can play defense, can mix things up defensively, got guys that'll play hard on the defensive end, you got a chance. You don't have to rely too much on one guy to create things on offense, and then you're able to play on the other side of the floor. You're going to be able to have some good defensive games. Anyway, shout out to Chris Brandlin, 10-month member message, says, talking trades at this point is ridiculous. If anybody's talking trades in chat, yeah, we ain't talking trades at 9-3 when most of our roster isn't even tradable right now. What's the point? I want to see just how good this team can be. We're only 12 games in. That's what, 1/6 of the season? If my math is correct. I want to see what this team can do, 20 games in, 30 games in. Can we be 22-8? Our schedule in December and January is much easier. If we can win games like this, and we can consistently bring the effort right now, if we consistently keep bringing that effort, you're talking about a potential 1 seed, man. This team has a legitimate chance to be the 1 seed in the Western Conference, which is absolutely insane, especially after the struggle of last year, the first round exits. Like, this team is looking like a contender. Shout out to Michael V, $5 donation, says, I love that this team can win without Wayne and Jusuf, etc. We have never been able to win without Wayne and CJ. Now, you didn't want to do WJ for CJ? Oh, man. He says, now we can do it with multiple dudes out. Absolutely. Thank you, Michael V, for that $5 donation. Let's see. I'll take questions from chat. Give me a question in chat. I'll answer questions, and then we'll hop into player cards. I'll pull the team stats back up here as I wait. The assist number is 26-19. Blazers move the ball better. Only 9 turnovers. That's something that I absolutely have to point out. That has to be a season low. The Blazers have had their issues, been one of the worst teams in the league turning over the ball. I said on the pregame show, if they can play defense, right, which is obviously just surface level, like every team wants to play defense every game, right? But if they can have an effective defensive performance, which they obviously did, holding the Pelicans to 95, which is 16 points less than their worst offensive game all season long. I said if they can take care of the ball, which they did, 9 turnovers. And then if I said they can attack the paint and score points in the paint, they did that 46-36 advantage for the Blazers, then they would have a legitimate chance in this game, even with the guys they had out. They did all 3 of those things and won by 11. That is the recipe for the Portland Trail Blazers being a contender, is playing good defense, attacking the paint, and taking care of the ball. In terms of attacking the paint, that comes with not just like driving the lane, but also making the right cuts, the right passes, hitting a cutter, and maybe the defense helps onto them, and then they make a dump-off pass to a big man for a layup. Like, just attacking the rim the right way, whether it's driving, passing, cutting, whatever. The Blazers did that. That is the recipe for success for this team. It's pretty clear. Getting a guy like Gary Payton II back will absolutely help the Blazers in that regard as well, because he makes the right cuts, plays phenomenal defensively. He will help. I mean, it's just crazy. We forget this dude's even on the team. Blazers for life. Yeah, it's hard to remember that GP2's out too. I mean, imagine when you add him to the equation. You're talking about one of the best defensive players in the league last year, and look at our defense right now. Absolutely phenomenal. So I'm curious to see how Gary Payton II factors into it. Should hopefully see him in less than a week. We could see a healthy Blazers team on the 15th against the Spurs, first home game, potentially coming off a 5-1 road trip. Shout out to Michael V, a $2 donation, says, won't call him LJ, no opponent gets the W nickname. Absolutely, I respect it. CJ struggled so far this year. His shot's off. And people were saying, see, that's the CJ I know. I mean, CJ shooting 30% from three. We don't know CJ McCollum is a 30% three-point shooter. We know him as a 38, 39% three-point shooter. 37%. And he was 1 for 7 from three today, 6 for 17 from the field. He did not have a good game. Did have a couple steals, did have a couple blocks, did have 7 assists. And 7 rebounds. Like, he did some other things, but he's just struggling to knock down shots. It's crazy because you can't read too much into plus minus for an individual player in a single game, obviously, but it's always just interesting to look at. Every starter for the Pelicans was a -12 or worse, except for CJ, who's only a -1. But the guard play behind CJ is going to be the downfall for the Pelicans. Ingram is their starting shooting guard, or is it Herb Jones? I don't know. They start CJ, Ingram, Herb Jones, Zion Williamson, Jonas Valanciunas. I mean, they start 3 forwards and a center alongside CJ. And then off the bench, in terms of guard play, you got Jose Alvarado, who's 1 for 5. He's not good offensively. Devontae Graham, who's just not good on either side of the floor. 8 minutes, 0 for 1. They don't play any other guards. ESPN has Trey Murphy listed as a shooting guard. He's a forward. He's pretty much just a 3-point shooter. And he had a good game, but he's pretty much just a 3-point shooter. He's not a creator. Then you got Najee Marshall and Larry Nance Jr. were the other 2 guys off the bench for the Pelicans. They have nobody that can consistently create offense from the guard position other than CJ. That's going to be the downfall for them. And I think that's why CJ, despite struggling, was only a -1. Because without CJ in the game, they just don't have enough high-level, like, guard shot creation. Sure, Zion and Brandon Ingram can take guys off the dribble and they can certainly score, but they're not guys who are going to facilitate consistently for other guys. So that's the thing. This Pelicans team has some talent, but the roster makeup, I'm starting to think, doesn't quite work for them. They're sitting here at 6-6. They've lost some close games, so maybe I'm overreacting a little bit, but yeah, CJ struggled today, though. Shout out to Brian Tavish, $2 donation, says, best game played so far. I mean, there's a bunch of great games so far. It's hard to rank them. These 9 wins are better than the best 9 wins from last year. Maybe the best 9 wins from the year before. I mean, the quality of our wins is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. We have 2 wins over bad teams, right? And that's Charlotte on the road and that's Houston at home. And we were missing some guys for both of those games, right? Where maybe, it's a trap game, we're missing guys. I mean, last year we had multiple games where we go on the road against a banged-up team and we lose. Like Philadelphia didn't have Embiid. We go on the road and Maxey has 30-plus on us. They didn't have Harden yet. They hadn't traded for him. Every year, it's like this Blazers team will play a team missing guys on the road, and the Blazers will have their guys and they'll lose. Now it's like they're playing teams on the road who have their guys, and the Blazers are the team that are missing guys, and they're winning. Shout out Nathan Candy, $5 donation, says LFG, which stands for Let's Effing Go. Chauncey is him. This is what we get. First year with a roster he wants. Awesome start. And yeah, last year was not a Chauncey Billups type roster. I was happy that they molded the roster to fit Chauncey Billups this offseason. Guys that'll buy in and play the way that Chauncey Billups wants to play. That's why I thought people passing judgment on Chauncey based off last year was absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I am full, dude, like, I was confident in Chauncey going into the season, and some people were starting to question him after preseason, which I get, because the preseason was a debacle. We came out in the first preseason game switching everything, which made no sense. Like, I understand why people were questioning him because of the preseason, but he's answered any questions anyone has had. He's an elite coach. He's an elite coach. Anyway, I know I asked for questions earlier. I'll take them now. Sorry. If you asked a question, answer it. Or, dude, I can't talk. If you asked a question, ask it again. I'll try my best to answer anything you guys got for me. Obviously, without Eric, I can't bounce thoughts off anyone. It's always a different feel to do a solo stream. How many All-Stars will the Blazers have this year? A little bit early to talk about that, but the Blazers, if they're the 1 seed... If they're the 1 seed during All-Star voting, normally 1 seeds get in at least 2 All-Stars. And I would think it has to be Anthony Simons, but maybe it could be Jerami Grant. Maybe it could be Jerami Grant. I don't know. Because Jerami Grant plays a front court spot, and that might be a little bit easier. Because that's the thing, when you look at Anthony, it's... The guards are stacked. The guard position is absolutely stacked in the Western Conference. Like, who is he going to make it over? So it's like, if the Blazers are 1 seed, 1 seeds normally have multiple All-Stars, like, who's going to be that second All-Star? It's hard to even think about, like, what Simons is going to make it over who? Because you got Steph, you got Booker, you got Dame, you got Ja Morant. That's already 4 guards, and I can't see Simons making it over any of those 4. And I'm definitely forgetting someone at a guard spot. Pasty Zach, I can't agree with him being better than Booker. Booker's been phenomenal this year. Booker is a borderline superstar, and we're talking about hopefully being an all-star. Shout out Andrew Miller. What's up, Andrew? Good to see you, man. $2 donation says, odds Chauncey gets coach of the year. Right now, I'd put it... There's still a lot of season to play out and still a lot of teams that are overachieving that coaches are doing a good job with. Right now, I'd put it at 25 to 30%, which is actually quite good. You got to look at Hardy over there in Utah. They're 10-3. How in the world are they 10-3? Right? Like, he right now has to be the front runner. No other teams in the West, I think, have a candidate. But in the East, you got to look at Bickerstaff in Cleveland. And then, I mean, Washington's 6-6, and they just beat Dallas today without Bradley Beal. So if they, are a winning team, especially if Bradley Beal misses more time, then is it Unseld who's there? Whoever's coaching that team has a chance. If the Blazers keep playing like this, I'd put it at about 40% for Chauncey. Shout out to Caleb Pendergraph, $2 donation, says, opinion on Nas's defense and offense so far. Nas, let me jump into the player cards. Let me get the player cards loaded up here. Should be done from Krish. Obviously, no Brant's breakdown today. We don't have Brant, so we can't have a breakdown. All right, that's how it works. So we'll just jump straight into these player cards. The screen froze at the wrong time or at the right time. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll talk about Nas's defense when we get to him. He'll be up quick because he had a great game. But the Tory breakdown, yeah, I wish. I have to watch the game on my phone, so I can't take pictures, and it's on the Xfinity Stream app, which I can't pause. It's just the Root Sports deal sucks. Because if I could watch on YouTube TV where I could rewind and then just take screenshots off my phone, then you guys would get actual screenshots instead of like the picture of the TV screen, and it would look real good. But unfortunately, they're not on YouTube TV, so it is what it is. I do have a What do you... Thomas Ogden. You see that thing right there? Yeah, I do have a TV. I got a TV in my shot here. I still need to upgrade my background. I know a lot of people have said, upgrade your background. I will at some point. At some point this season. All right? That's the most I can promise. Where's the picture of Eric? Okay, I'll add the picture of Eric. I should have added the picture of Eric to the team stats slide. But yeah, let me find... Here we go. Where's it at? Boom. There we go. Eric's just going to be lurking down there in the bottom corner. Perfect. Actually, let me toss this in here. Since you guys didn't get a Brant's breakdown, I'll toss in the Brant breakdown logo next to him. It'll be perfect. There we go. I don't know why it puts it in so big. All right, there. That's clean. Okay, cool. There we go. We got Brand's breakdown in the stream. All right, and we got Eric in the stream. All right, it's a complete post-game show now. That's Money Man Brant. Connor, when I put in pictures into my streaming software, it makes them super big. Eric is glowing because this Blazers team is so good. Wherever he's at vacationing right now, he's walking around like radiating positive vibes. Just oozing from his pores right now. So, yeah, he's glowing for a reason. Jerami Grant today was glowing because he was on fire. 27 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. 10 for 20 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, 3 for 5 from the free throw line. He carried this team at times offensively, was phenomenal. He's shooting the 3 ball so well this season. So well. I'm going to look up his stats like going into this game on the season. It takes a while to update them, so that's why I always say going into this game, so-and-so was shooting whatever. But going into this game, he was shooting 43.5% from 3. Okay? After this game, he's shooting 24 for 54 from 3, which is 44%. He's an absolute knockdown three-point shooter right now. I don't expect that to continue. He was 35, 36% the last couple of years in Detroit, but shot more off the dribble. He's getting more catch-and-shoot looks, and he's been phenomenal on those all season long. The 2 seasons before Detroit, he was at 39%, though. So that's what I was hoping to see from Jerami Grant. He's absolutely defied even my most optimistic expectations early on this season, shooting 44% from 3. And then he attacked the rim, too. It wasn't just threes. Hit a couple of mid-range shots, got to the rim. That dunk was so impressive he had where he hit Zion with that little right-to-left crossover. And if you saw the right camera angle they showed on one of the replays, like Zion jumped to the side on that crossover. It's not like he took a step or leaned to the side and got beat that way. He legitimately moved a good 5 feet to the side on a Jerami Grant crossover. It was so dirty. And then for him to, just the way he exploded to the rim after that crossover was amazing. That was maybe, I know people were impressed with Sharpe with that dunk he had against, who was it? It was a dunk he had at home against Houston, I think it was. The one where he just levitated, looked like he was looking down at the rim. I know that Sharpe dunk was super impressive. But this Grant dunk, I think, was just as impressive because of the crossover and then how quickly he got to the rim and dunked that thing in traffic. That was phenomenal. So, I mean, Grant's been phenomenal all season long. Perfect third option next to Dame and Ant. There was a stretch there in the first half where both Grant and Ant were off the floor. I think Chauncey kept one of those two guys on the floor at all times in the second half. And I was saying during the first half when both Grant and Simons were off the floor that the Blazers needed one of them on the floor just to create offense. Because during that stretch, the Blazers let the Pelicans go on a run. They got up 38-31. And it was looking like, okay, that's how this game's going to go. Granted, how many times have the Blazers ended up like down 10 in the first half and it has not mattered at all? It's almost like they get down 10 and it's like, okay, well, they'll wake up now. They'll go on a run now. I would like to stop getting down by 10, but they come back from it. But during that stretch, they didn't have Grant or Ant on the floor and didn't have enough shot creation. Grant played 42 minutes, so I think he might have played almost the entire second half. You can correct me if I'm wrong, or let me know if he did play the entire second half. I don't remember off the top of my head. But, yeah, Grant was phenomenal tonight and got it done defensively as well. Anthony Simons didn't shoot the ball well. He was 0 for 5 inside the arc, 5 for 13 behind it. But he got to the line 8 times. Made all 8 of his free throws, and then also had 6 assists with only 1 turnover. And defensively, I think Simons was solid as well. Like, Simons looked really good defensively to start the season. Now he's kind of been quiet. He's not tasked with necessarily the hardest matchups, but he did guard CJ for a good portion of this game, and CJ struggled. I thought Simons was solid on both sides of the floor tonight, and that's what you ask for from Anthony Simons. If he's missing shots, you want him to be able to play within the flow of the offense, which is something CJ did struggle with. You want him to play within the flow of the offense so he doesn't take away from the flow of things. You want him to make plays for others without turning the ball over. Okay, he did both those things today. You want him to hopefully get to the free throw line if his shot isn't falling. He got to the free throw line today, and after missing free throws yesterday, he was 8 for 8 today. Okay, cool. And then you want him to play defense, all right? That's 4 things you want him to do when his shot isn't falling. I thought he did all 4 of those things today. So yeah, it sucked that he missed some shots, but he hasn't shot the ball great this year. But he still had a really big impact on this team in terms of winning basketball games. He, of course, had that heater against the Denver Nuggets where he made 6 threes in a row and carried that Blazer team to a win, a 135-110 win over the Denver Nuggets at home back in October. Like, Anthony will have his moments this year where he absolutely carries the team with his three-point shooting and whatnot. It's just nice to have a starting shooting guard that's solid defensively, as I think he's been, and can play within the flow of things and just contribute to the team when he's not making shots. I always thought people were too harsh on CJ in that regard. Like, CJ, I still think contributed to the team with his floor spacing, like his playmaking was underrated, but I think Simons is even better at just being that guy that can make a positive impact when his shot isn't falling. And yeah, he was 0 for 5 from inside the arc, but a number of opportunities or a number of times he drove, he got to the free throw line. Like chat is saying, James Yang saying, shot wasn't falling, so he attacked the rim. Awesome. Yeah, he had that play where he almost dunked on Valanciunas, I think it was. Yeah, it was Valanciunas, and Valanciunas fouled him. So that's the thing. Yeah, you can look at, 0 for 5 from 2, but that's because a number of times when he attacked, they fouled him, and he got to the free throw line, which is a very efficient play. Very efficient play. So I like to see that from Ant. I thought he was solid today. Yeah, the shooting numbers don't look great, but there's more to a basketball game than your field goal percentage. Josh Hart, 17.7 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal. Efficiency numbers were good. 7 for 13 from the field, including 1 for 3 from the three-point line and 6 for 10 inside the arc. Only 1 turnover. Josh Hart has been turnover prone this season. He's also been a facilitator and a playmaker. Today he had to step up and be more of a scorer, and he did that. And this is why I love Josh Hart. Because he can step up into whatever role this team needs him to step up into, and he can play that role. Even though he's seemingly not had the best rhythm as a scorer so far this season. That game he hit that buzzer beater, that was like his 5th shot in 37 minutes. Before that, he was like passing up good opportunities to score, and then there was opportunities where he was trying to force drives into traffic when maybe he shouldn't. And I feel like Josh Hart has struggled knowing when to pick his spots as a scorer so far this season. He's passed up open threes too much. This game, he did better at that. And, you know, maybe the buzzer beater 3 that he had against Miami helped him out with his confidence or whatnot. But I just think Josh Hart is an unselfish player, knowing he has talent around him, trying to make plays for other guys and not force his own stuff. But this team needed him to be more of a scorer today, and he was exactly that. It's really nice to have a player that can step up into any role: defensive stopper, off-ball defender, ball handler, facilitator, point guard, power forward, shooting guard, whatever. He's the starting shooting guard tonight with Dame out. And he can provide just whatever the team needs from him, and he provided that today. Had a nice floater, a couple nice drives and finishes around the rim. And he's just I don't know. Like, he's driven into traffic a ton this season, and then when he does have clearer driving lanes, he'll just pass the ball. It's just confusing to me. He picked his spots better. And when he has a lane and there's not a bunch of traffic in the paint around the rim, he's able to get to the rim and finish. He's a good finisher. Like, it's just, some of his offensive stuff hasn't made sense to me so far this year. This game made perfect sense. This is the Josh Hart we need, especially with Dame out or Nurk out or Jerami Grant out. But in the future, I want him to be as aggressive as he was in this game in terms of looking for the right driving opportunities, the right slashing opportunities. I'm confident that Josh Hart will be a better scorer as the season goes on. Anyway, let's move on and talk about Nassir Little. 15 points, 4 rebounds. That's a season high for Nas. 6 for 11 from the field. He had a couple of very impressive drives. 1 for 3 from 3. 2 for 3 from the free throw line. Nas has been hitting jumpers this season. His jumper has looked really, really good. But he hasn't played a ton. I think he only has one game where he's played 20 minutes or more so far this season. Tonight, he ended up playing 24 minutes, which might be a season high. And last game, Jabari Walker played more than him last night against Charlotte, which Jabari had some good minutes, so I'm not really complaining about that. I just think Nas has been playing good offensive basketball. Before this game, he's shooting 46% from 3 and 59% from 2, and his true shooting percentage was 65%. I mean, what else do you ask for from Nassir Little from a scoring department? Defensively, he hasn't been quite as good on the ball as he was last year. He didn't really make an impact, positive or negative, on the defensive end, in my opinion, in this game. Maybe there's some positive things he did that I missed, but he's just inconsistent defensively. He has good moments, he has bad moments. He's not that stopper that I think he was last year, and then off the ball, he's cleaned up some mistakes, but he's still not where he needs to be. But the defense is a work in progress. It's weird that he's been better offensively this season than on the defensive end. That's not something that I expected to say in regards to Nassir Little. But he was good offensively today. I was trying to look up his field goal attempts from this game on NBA.com, because you can look up and see like shot attempts for players, but they don't have the clips. But he let's see here, 5 of his 6 makes were at the rim. Just looking at his shot chart right now, he hit a 3. He missed a couple of mid-range jumpers, missed a couple of 3s. He made a 3, 1 for 5 on jumpers, 5 for 6 around the rim. And a lot of those came late in the third or early in the fourth. He had 8 points in the course of about 7 minutes. He scored with about a minute left on the clock there at the end of the third quarter and then played until about 5 minutes left in the fourth. Had 3 more buckets all around the rim. New Orleans is not a team, as I said previewing this game over on our second channel, Blazers Uprise Live, New Orleans is not a team that defends the rim well. They don't defend the paint well. And obviously the Blazers' MO has been attack the paint, get buckets on the interior, that sort of thing. But it hasn't really been Nas absolutely going at people all year long. It's been Grant at times, it's been Josh Hart, it's been Dame, feeding Nurkic, even Justice Winslow at times. It was nice to see Nas really just take it straight to the defense, drive the lane. He wasn't the number one option out there. Jerami Grant was playing well. Obviously, teams are going to be worried about Anthony Simons. Josh Hart was having some good moments, and Josh Hart played for the Pelicans last year. They know what he can do. So that's the thing. Even though you're missing guys offensively in this game, even though you're missing Dame, you still have enough offensive talent out there to make things easier on Nassir Little, where he's not going to be going up against a Herb Jones type of defender. Herb Jones is going to be guarding Jerami Grant or Anthony Simons or somebody else. He's going to have a weaker defender on him. That's when he needs to be aggressive, try and get downhill, try and get to the rim, try and finish the way he did. So I absolutely love the mentality offensively from Nas in this game. Defensively, I need to start paying attention, focusing hard on him defensively. I try and focus on the whole team, and it ends up with me not having a super opinionated thought on specific players because the whole defense just looks good. And a lot of times I'm like, okay, what are we even in? Which is weird for me. But you have to constantly think about what are the Blazers in. They run a lot of zone. The zones worked well this year. I'm going to start paying attention to Nas defensively when he's on the court over the next few games. Just see what he's giving us, especially because GP2 is going to be back soon. He'll probably be on a minutes restriction, but GP2 still has a chance of taking Nassir Little's minutes. I wouldn't be surprised to see Nassir Little back around 8 or 10 minutes. So I'm going to focus on Nassir Little defensively over the next couple of games. That's something I generally do throughout the season. I'll take a stretch of 2-3 games and really focus on a specific player defensively. But normally it's okay, why do we suck defensively? I'm going to watch Norman Powell for 3 games and see what he's doing wrong. And then I watch Norman Powell for 3 games and it's oh my God, this dude actually is not putting forth effort. And this dude is playing extremely lazy. And he's doing this. That's what it's been like in the past. Now it's okay, I need to focus on a specific player. But it's more so, okay, I don't think he hurt the Blazers defensively today. It's more so a positive thing. If that makes sense. Anyway, we got Justice Winslow, 12 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, a block, 3 for 12 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, 5 for 8 from the free throw line. He made a 3. He's shooting 25% on the season, so 1 for 4 makes sense. It was a buzzer beater 3, big 3, and I kind of felt like that's when the tide changed. When you have Justice Winslow hitting a buzzer beater contested 3 and hitting, I think he hit all net on it. That's when you know you're screwed, I guess. 6 assists. He passed the ball well in this game. I thought he had a couple of turnovers. Let me make sure. Yeah, no turnovers for Justice today. So, I got to give him props. 6 assists, no turnovers in his 38 minutes. Passed the ball well. He should have had a turnover. This is the Justice Winslow experiment. There was a play there. I think it was in the fourth quarter. It might have been late third. There was a play he threw a pass directly to a Pelicans defender. But he threw it hard, and it's the Pelicans defender, I don't remember who it was, but the Pelicans defender wasn't ready for the ball to be passed straight to him, and it either went off his hands or went off his head and went out of bounds. It should have been a turnover. It was a terrible pass. Justice Winslow passes it right at this dude, and it goes through his hands straight out of bounds. So then, okay, it's an inbounds play. Justice Winslow throws an inbounds pass to Nassir Little for an open dunk. Gets an assist out of it. You know what I mean? That's the Justice Winslow experiment or experience. And that was one of Nassir Little's buckets on the interior. Good inbounds play. Bad defense by the Pelicans there. But then there was another play in the first half, man. Justice Winslow was missing layups. I was getting frustrated with it. He missed that wide open one where he went up with two hands like he was going to dunk. He was wide open, nobody around him, but it was like he didn't jump high enough to dunk, so he tried to lay it in and went off the back of the rim, and he basically just blew a completely wide open layup. That was extremely frustrating, but then there was another play. He spins baseline against a smaller defender, gets to his right hand, pretty much an open layup, misses it, gets the ball back, then tries to shoot it, gets it absolutely rejected, I think by Valanciunas. Absolutely rejected. He goes and retrieves that, and then he threw a dime to somebody for a bucket. And it's like, that's as I said, the Justice Winslow experiment. He'll do something bad. Somehow the Blazers will keep the ball. Then he'll do something good and get an assist. There's a couple different possessions like that today. So, I mean, Justice Winslow is going to be that guy that makes extremely frustrating mistakes or has extremely frustrating misses, just like Evan Turner was. But then he'll make the right pass, play defense, rebound. Like, I will continue. I'm not going to stop myself from getting frustrated when Justice Winslow misses an open layup, okay? I will be frustrated at anybody on this team when they miss an open layup. I'll give him credit when he does good things as well. It doesn't have to be either or, right? But he had some bad misses in the paint today. A couple badly missed threes. Hit the most clutch 3-point attempt of the night. Rebounded well. And 6 assists, no turnovers. That's pretty good. So, anyway. I know a lot of people know me as the Justice Winslow hater, but it's a love-hate thing. It's not just a hater thing. It's a love-hate relationship for me and Justice Winslow, all right? All right. I think he just hates me because I gave him crap for being an Astros fan, and yeah, on Twitter once. I deleted it in 5 minutes, but he blocked me on Twitter. I don't hold a grudge against him for that, though. I promise. But that is another story. But he's an Astros fan. I'm a Mariners fan. I was salty after the Mariners lost in 18 innings, 1-0. And he was an Astros fan, and he was celebrating on Twitter. Yeah. Anyway. I said I wasn't going to... Yeah, you did block me on Twitter, Tyler. I said I wasn't going to tell that story on stream because I don't want you guys thinking that when I criticize him or I'm hard on him, it's because he blocked me on Twitter. But yes, he blocked me on Twitter. But, but it was kind of deserved. It's all good. Honestly, it probably doesn't even matter because Twitter is going down the drain. Cole Slauson says, now we know. Yeah, I don't want you guys thinking I would criticize him because he blocked me on Twitter. I don't care that he blocked me. Twitter is falling apart. We're starting to redesign our Discord. We actually have done a lot in there. Me and Grant is helping me out, our Discord manager. Join our Discord. There is a link in the description box below, and I will plug it in the stream chat. I know I plug this pretty much every stream, but I don't talk much about it. But we're doing a lot in there. We did a game thread today, a live game thread in there. We'll do that for every game. I was watching the game in VC today, just hanging out with a few of y'all. So definitely go and check out the Discord. There's a link in the stream chat. Anyway, I'm not going to get in another debate on Twitter. I got into one last night. Eric was here for that. But, yeah, I don't like the direction that Twitter is going right now for, I think, obvious reasons. But, anyway. What's not said is because Twitter was doing well previously. I mean, it was I didn't have to wonder if, whatever verified account was actually the right account. So, anyway, let's move on. Drew Eubanks, 8 rebounds, 6 points, 3 assists, 3 for 4 from the field. Played phenomenal defense against Zion Williamson there in the fourth quarter. Couple of nice passes in this game. I thought he was overall very solid tonight. You don't expect Eubanks to score a whole lot starting for Jusuf Nurkic. You just want him to play defense, to protect the rim, to rebound the ball, and to finish the shots that he's given. He did that in this game. He was quietly very, very solid, but there was a stretch there that I was extremely impressed with his defense on Zion Williamson in the fourth quarter. I was worried about Zion going up against the Blazers when the Blazers didn't have Jusuf Nurkic. Because the Blazers without Jusuf Nurkic don't have a lot of size, don't have a lot of strength. Eubanks isn't as big as Nurk. But Eubanks moved his feet against Zion. He moved his feet. Zion could not get by him. And then Eubanks obviously has length, and he absorbed the contact that Zion was creating very well in this game. Like, that stretch he had in the fourth quarter was extremely impressive. Big shout out to him. He did some other good things in this game, but that's what stood out most to me. Malachi says that pick of Eric is still creeping me out. Good. That's Money Man Brant. That's not Eric, that's Money Man Brant. But Eubanks has been better defensively than I thought he would be this year. Interior defense, I think, for him has been solid. And I was worried about that going into this year. Not the best rim protector. He's not blocking shots at a crazy rate, but he's playing good positional defense. He's helping at the right times. He's defending the center of the zone hard, because that's very difficult to do in the NBA because you can't pick up a defensive 3 seconds. There's no defensive 3 seconds in college basketball or high school basketball, so it's a lot easier. Both Nurkic and Eubanks this season have played the center of that zone very, very well, in my opinion. And he's just at the right spot more often than not. You know, some guys are freakishly long, freakishly athletic, that they might not be at the right spot, but they can make up for that with that athleticism and length to block shots or bother shots. Eubanks isn't quite that guy. He's just fundamental defensively. He's just solid. And then had a couple nice finishes. That left-hand finish he had, I don't know how that went in. Looked like the ball barely snuck over the rim. Looked like it could have been an and one, too. He's had some impressive finishes so far this year. What's my stance on Eubanks so far this season? He's been good enough to be the backup center. In the playoffs, when teams pick on centers, and we'll try and put centers in really tough positions, running pick and roll, I'm not super confident in him being the guy that can play substantial minutes in the playoffs. I think he could sub in and play, 10, 12 minutes a game, especially if you're mixing him up with Watford, depending on matchups. But he'd be one of the best third-string centers in the league if that's what he was. As a backup center, he's solid enough for the regular season. Maybe solid enough for the playoffs, but that's a different story. Playoffs is a little... Here's the thing. We're going to have to start talking about playoff basketball if this keeps up, because playoff basketball is different than regular season basketball. Things that work during the regular season don't necessarily work in the playoffs. And you have to be prepared to play a different style of basketball in the playoffs. I think the way the Blazers are playing will translate well to the playoffs. But we might have to start having those conversations. I was not expecting to be thinking about that potential possibility in November. Shout out Isaac Figueroa, $5 donation, says, I really thought we would lose tonight with no Dame, but we had low turnovers. Yeah, if this team can just take care of the ball, they're a contender. I don't know how they're not a contender, because they're good on both sides of the floor, and they have star power, and they have multiple guys that you have to defend, and they play off each other. It's just the turnovers have made things so much harder on the Blazers, and they're still beating good teams despite turning over the ball 18 times per game. Imagine if they have 13 turnovers per game. That's 5 extra possessions in games they're already winning. So... and then you also bring Gary Payton II at some point, who's one of the best at creating turnovers the other way, forcing opposing teams into turnovers. You're talking about a bunch of extra possessions if they just clean up the turnovers, get Gary Payton II back. And they haven't needed those extra possessions. They're still winning. Tonight they needed them without Dame going up against the Pelicans team, but they didn't turn over the ball. 9 turnovers. Very, very solidly played offensive game. I was extremely impressed at how solid they were offensively. Yes, they didn't hit the highest percentage of shots or anything, but they took care of the ball, made the right play more often than not. Didn't get too stagnant. They had a stretch there without Grant and Ant on the floor where they struggled, but other than that, very, very solid. Jabari Walker got some more minutes tonight. 8 minutes, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 for 4 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. One of those misses was close. One of those misses he PG'd off the top of the backboard, but we're not going to talk about that. Nah, I mean, he's just solid. He's just solid for a guy. I mean, this is what I've said about him, so I don't want to just sit here repeating myself. But this is what I expected. He's going to come into a game and he's not going to hurt the team. He's going to rebound the ball. He's going to finish off plays. He should be a solid enough three-point shooter. I know he missed both his shots tonight, but, hit a 3 last game. Just needs to settle down from there. And he's going to be solid defensively. Like, I thought he was solid on the defensive end as well. Comes in the game, doesn't hurt the team, provides 8 solid minutes, and subs out. That's really good for a guy that was almost undrafted and is a rookie and is, 20 years old right now? Let me look up his exact age. It's easy for me to remember Shaedon Sharpe's exact age because me and him share a birthday. So, my next birthday, that's when Sharpe turns 20. Pretty easy to figure out. Jabari turns 21 on July 30th. Yeah, so he's barely 20 years old. And can come into a game as somebody that was almost undrafted and won't hurt the team. It's phenomenal. Good game from him today. And then, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. If you missed it last stream, I will post a short. I'm going to start posting YouTube shorts. And I'm going to start doing some TikTok stuff. Just trying to branch out in terms of content a little bit. I have someone helping me out with it. But the first short clip and TikTok clip will be my reaction to Chris bringing back the trending graphic with all the extra stuff from last year. So if you weren't here the last stream, yes, we're still doing it. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it means, but we're doing it. Anyway. 2 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 1 for 3 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 2 turnovers, 2 fouls, 26 minutes of play for trend domination. Yeah, I said it right. Trend domination. Yeah, I mean, defensively solid and makes the right play, and I already talked a bit about him. I'm probably just going to be repeating myself at this point, but both he and Eubanks stepped up without Nurkic. I like Trendon better as a small ball center. So many teams are going extremely small with their bench unit. I think in the future we're going to start having debates as to, okay, well, who do you play between Eubanks and Trendon? Because Eubanks has been solid. But Trendon just provides a different dynamic with his passing ability and the way he can play defensively. I think from a rim protection standpoint, Eubanks and Trendon is similar. Eubanks might be a little bit better. Trendon's quicker, though, on the defensive end. And plays the perimeter better. You can switch him a little bit easier than you can switch Eubanks. Hey, says Tori finally going to show us his shorts on stream. No, that's not what YouTube Shorts is, my guy. But Trendon just helps with the flow of the offense. And in a stagnant offense last year when he got some minutes, he still looked fine, especially because the expectation wasn't super high for him last year. He was an undrafted two-way rookie, right? So the expectation was nothing. And he came in and actually provided something. But in the latter half of the season, he played extremely well last year, and it was on a Blazers team that sucked, but they moved the ball and they played off each other. And that's the best system, the best offense for Trendon Watford to play in. When he can flash to the free throw line, catch a pass and reverse it, and then go and screen away or screen on the ball or cut. He's better in that regard than just standing behind the three-point line. He's not the best shooter, or just standing in the short corner. Or the dunker spot, as some people call it. Like, he's not a guy that makes sense in an offense just standing around. A spot-up shooter makes sense in an offense standing around. Or a big man that, all right, well, you got James Harden ice-wing dribbling 20 times in a row, and then when he drives, he can lob it to the big man. Clint Capella back in their Houston days or whatever. Right? That's fine. Trendon makes more sense in an offense that moves the ball. In Trendon, I think he's still a little bit rusty, but he looked better tonight after turning the ball over like crazy yesterday. He still had, 6 assists yesterday and 4 assists tonight? Having a big man that can pass the ball like that off the bench is huge. And it just adds to the playmaking and passing ability that this Blazers team has, and having a bunch of guys that can pass the ball at a high level, hopefully without turning the ball over as much as they have in the past, is hard to defend. Chad, give me your thoughts on Trendon. What did you think of Trendon tonight? Looking forward to reading that. That is the last player card. Hey says, what's your updated playoff spot prediction? I have no idea. I'm not going to predict anything, all right? I was thinking this team might struggle going into the season. I didn't predict them to have a super successful season, but I said the West is wide open and it's jam-packed. There's a lot of good teams. Who knows who's going to be good? I expect the Clippers to be good, okay? Kawhi Leonard is out seemingly indefinitely. There's no timetable for his return according to Ty Lue. So who knows when Kawhi's back. Without Kawhi, the Clippers are a very mediocre team. Okay, that was one of the teams I thought was going to be, for sure, home court advantage. The Golden State Warriors are currently... Let me pull up the standings here. We have around the NBA, actually, which, let's just jump into that. Let me load that up. These were the 4 scores from tonight. I don't have to load this up anymore. It's all automatic. I need to put in the new file, though. Let me try and put in the new file right now. Shout out to Nick for helping me with this. He codes this and gives me an HTML file that I just plug into my streaming software. It's actually really cool. And he sent me an updated one that was supposed to fix how it says the game time instead of the final. So let's just try this right now, actually, and see if it's better. Still says the game time. Anyway, all these games are final. Might be something I'm doing wrong on my end. But the Wizards beat the Mavericks 113-105. 113-105. Let me pull up the box scores here on my phone. Had only 4 games today. 3-1 picks against the spread record. Or no, 3-2 picks against the spread record for me today. I picked the Hawks, Hornets, and Blazers. All 3 of those were correct. But then I doubled down on the Mavericks, which was obviously a mistake. But I'll take 3-2. But as far as Wizards versus Mavericks go, the Mavericks were without Christian Wood in this one. Wizards were without Bradley Beal. But they were led by Kyle Kuzma, who had 36 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists on 14 for 26 from the field, 5 for 11 from 3. Phenomenal game from Kuz. 23 off the bench from Rui Hachimura, 9 for 14 shooting. I wish that dude was in a Blazer uniform. Will Barton, 14 off the bench. Danny Avdija had 12 for the Wizards. For the Mavericks, Spencer Dinwiddie went off, 33 points, 6 assists, 11 for 17 from the field, 7 for 12 from 3. But for the second game in a row, Luka Doncic failed to reach 30 points after reaching 30 points every game before that this season. 8 for 21 from the field for Luka, who's maybe in a little bit of a slump. 16 off the bench for Hardaway, 14 for Dwight Powell, who started over JaVale McGee. They said JaVale McGee was going to be the starting center this year. They've already gone back on that. And that was one of their free agent signings from this past offseason. But Dallas falls to 6-5. We'll look at the standings in a second. The Hawks beat the 76ers 104-95, moving to 8-4 on the season. They were led by Trae Young, 7 for 21 from the field. Not an efficient night, 26 points. DeJounte Murray also kind of struggled, 5 for 13, only 10 points for him. But Clint Capella, 18 points, 20 boards. This was not a pretty offensive game from either side of things. The Sixers only shoot 38% from the field and 20% from 3. They're without James Harden. Embiid had 26 points, 13 rebounds on 9 for 18, but you expect even a little bit more out of him, especially without Harden. That's below his seasonal averages last year. Not quite MVP level Embiid like he played at last year. Tyrese Maxey struggled, 5 for 17. Tobias Harris, 5 for 15. Without Harden, both those guys need to step up. Philadelphia's 5-7. Philadelphia might be in play-in territory at this point. We'll take a look at the Eastern Conference standings too. Sixers are struggling. The Heat beat the Hornets. The Heat are also struggling. They win to move to 5-7. But they almost lost this game against a short-handed Charlotte Hornets team. Jimmy Butler had 35 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 11 for 19 shooting. He was phenomenal in this game. And then it was a team affair after that. Bam Adebayo, 6 for 15. He had 18 points, 14 boards. And 4 other Heat members were in double digits. For the Hornets, they were led by Kelly Oubre, 11 for 20, 29 points for him. Terry Rozier, 8 for 25, another terrible shooting night for Rozier. Last night, he also struggled against the Blazers. He had 22 points. Bad efficiency, though. Plumlee, 13 and 15. Dennis Smith Jr. went down with what looked like a sprained ankle in this game. He's been playing great for the Hornets. He was 6 for 9 for 12 points, 8 assists in this game before going down with that injury. He was 6 for 9, 0 for 3 from 3, 6 for 6 inside the arc. Jaden McDaniels, 16 points off the bench for the Hornets. And then your Portland Trailblazers taking care of business against the New Orleans Pelicans. As far as some of the Pelicans scores, which I'll read off as I also load up around the NBA here. Let me pull this box score up. Zion did finish with 29 points, 6 rebounds, 9 for 14 shooting, 1 for 1 from 3. Also got to the line a bunch. 10 for 15 from the free throw line for Zion. So he still had a really good game, but I don't know. I felt like the Blazers did a solid job on him. Made him work for all his buckets. And only 14 shots for him on a night where he supposedly had it going. Live with that. You know, somebody on this team is going to step up. Ingram only shot 12 times in 31 minutes, so he didn't really impose his will offensively. He had 14 points, 6 for 12 shooting. And then CJ McCollum, as I said earlier, 6 for 17, 1 for 7 from 3. He really struggled shooting the ball. Trey Murphy is a guy I really like. 5 for 11, 3 for 8 from 3, 16 points off the bench for him. He hit some big-time threes to help the Pelicans try and fight back in this game. Herb Jones, 10 points in the starting lineup, 3 for 6 from 3. He did have an airball mid-range jumper, but defensively, that's he's one of the better players in the league. That is his forte. And then Valanciunas, 20 minutes, 2 for 8, only 7 points against Drew Eubanks. So props to Eubanks. I mean, I thought Valanciunas might have a big game. He's an underrated player. I thought without Jusuf Nurkic, this could be an absolute problem for the Blazers containing Valanciunas. He didn't do anything. Other than that, Graham, Alvarado, Najee Marshall, Larry Nance Jr., none of those guys really did anything. Larry Nance Jr. in 23 minutes, 0 points, 1 assist, 0 for 2 from the field, 6 boards. Larry Nance Jr. tends to have quiet games like that. Anyway, let's look at the Western Conference standings. You got Utah still up top. You got Portland at number 2. What is that? I don't know what that is over the Blazers logo. Is that Dame? I don't know. Chris put something in there. I think that's Dame with the red eyes. But Portland's sitting there alone in second, 9-3. Beautiful record. I mean, let's just take a second and pretend like we're talking about the Blazers playing their 4th preseason game. This is after the 4th preseason game. The Blazers are 0-4 on the preseason, right? Against NBA teams, at least. And everybody's all worried. All right, now we're going to teleport you. We're going to teleport you to November 10th. We're sitting here at 9-3. Imagine seeing this back then. Imagine seeing this after the preseason, where Portland's 9-3, but then, dang, man, the only team above us is freaking Utah. That's still so amazing to me. I mean, the teams below Portland make sense, right? Phoenix, Denver, Memphis, the Clippers have a little better record than I thought, than Dallas, New Orleans. Like, that all makes sense, okay? But the two things that make absolutely no sense, Utah at 10-3, 5 games ahead of the Golden State Warriors at 4-7. It'll be interesting to see if either Utah holds their good performance or Golden State continues to struggle. Or if those teams flip and, Utah falls off and Golden State kind of claws their way back up into things. But then also Minnesota, I expected to be better. They're just... It's not even the acquisition of Rudy Gobert. Like, D'Lo, Anthony Edwards, and Karl Anthony Towns are having down seasons. Offensively, Minnesota was a top team in the league. I think they might have been the number one team in the league offensively last year. They're now middle of the pack. Everything else all makes sense. The Lakers being terrible once again with the same roster makes perfect sense. Houston, OKC at 4-7, Sacramento 4-6, San Antonio 5-7. Like, that all makes sense. But Golden State and Utah, man, absolutely insane. And the Eastern Conference standings make sense for the most part. Milwaukee 10-1, Cleveland, Boston. Those were kind of the top three teams in my opinion. Cleveland's logo is faded out. I don't know why. Oh, probably because that's where the Portland logo was, and the Dame, whatever you want to call it, Evil Dame. I like Evil Dame. Evil Dame is a 40-point score. But Milwaukee, Cleveland, Boston, those three teams make sense. Atlanta too, after adding DeJounte Murray, Toronto. But you do have a couple abnormalities. The two main ones is Philadelphia and Miami at 5-7 right now. And Brooklyn, I guess, if you want to throw them in there, but they've had a lot of turmoil. I think it's going, as I said on the previous postgame show, I think it's going to come down to Brooklyn, Philadelphia, and Miami all making the playoffs, but one of those teams will at least be in the play-in. Actually, I think two of those teams will at least be in the play-in, which will be interesting. I expect it to be Brooklyn and one of Miami or Philadelphia. But then, out of New York, Indiana, and Washington. Washington's at 6, Indiana at 8, New York at 9. I expect one of those teams to remain in the play-in, and then two of those teams to fall out. At this point, I mean, Washington looks good. Indiana looks good, too, though. You got Halliburton, and Mathurin has looked really good, averaging almost 20 a game. So it's always interesting to see around the end of November into December what the standings look like, because that's when you start to see some true separation and you start to see tiers and you start to have more trust in teams. Like if Utah's still a 1 seed in the middle of December, then okay, yeah, you absolutely have to buy the Jazz. At this point, it's still a little too early for them, but I'm absolutely buying the Blazers, if that makes sense. I don't know. I haven't seen the Jazz. We'll see the Jazz soon as we look at the next 5 games. The Blazers conclude their 6-game road trip with the Dallas Mavericks. I said 2-4 would be okay on this road trip. 3-3 would be good. Remaining at 500 after this road trip would have been good. They are 4-1 with a chance to go 5-1 November 12th against the Dallas Mavericks. I plan on doing a watch party stream for that game. Okay, so I'll have more information on that as we get closer to that game time. But the Blazers could go 5-1 on the road. They've beaten Phoenix shorthanded, New Orleans shorthanded, and Miami on the road. That's absolutely phenomenal and something I didn't expect. I expected to beat Houston, or no, not Houston. I expected to beat Charlotte on the road, and then it was just like, okay, well, at least just win one of the 2 Phoenix games, the Dallas game and the New Orleans game. Now the expectation has shifted. The Blazers then finally come home, finally play some games in Portland, San Antonio, Brooklyn, Utah. All winnable games. All winnable games. We'll be interested to see that game against Utah. That could be a battle for the 1 seed. And then on the road against the Milwaukee Bucks, who are the best team in the league. So those, I didn't expect November 19th and 21st to be back-to-back games against teams that are, as of now, the number 1 seeds in each conference. But that's what it's looking like. And then the Nets will probably be without Kyrie. Should get Gary Payton II back at some point over this stretch. Blazers, I hope go 3-2, but could definitely go 4-1 in this stretch. Can't rule out 5-0. I mean, maybe they've won 3 games in a row. Maybe we're talking about winning 8 games in a row. I mean, this team can compete with anybody, so I can't limit them to anything at this point. But they currently sit at 9-3. They win 2 more games, they guarantee being at least 500 after November. The goal is higher than that, but 500 after November, I said before the season, given their schedule and how tough it was going to be a success. Now it's how many games over 500 can we be? I mean, you go 4-1, you're sitting at what, 13-4? I mean, that's insane. I don't know what expectations to put on this team anymore. I'm at a loss in a good way. In a good way. I'll take questions for a little bit. And that'll wrap up the stream. Unfortunately, Eric couldn't be here to celebrate with us. And also my voice is getting a little bit tired. But, you know, it's fun hanging out with you guys. So I'll take questions. Chris Brandlin says, let's just keep it going. You talking about the team or you talking about me? Because I have an expiration time. Eric says, check Discord. Oh, is Eric able to come on? I think I can come on for a bit if you need some relief. Cool. Sorry I didn't check that earlier, Eric. Yes, please. Please. I will call you right now because my voice needs some relief. Alright, I'm calling you. Hopefully this Wi-Fi isn't bad. Or your Wi-Fi is cooperating. Hello. Hello. Hold on just a sec. Well, your message came up on the stream. All right. Anyway. I guess call me when you're ready. I might just sit here and not say anything until you call back. I'll just let chat amongst themselves. Giannis is about to be put in Trendon's jail. I hope so, Cole. Aeromancer says, Warwick Brand. In the apostrophe between the N and the T. I love it. I mean, with the Bucks, at least, you know, if the Blazers are healthy, they have a true chance to go into Milwaukee and win, and it should be a good game. And even if they lose, if it puts them to, 13-4, 12-5, like, they're still sitting good, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be a situation where we're going into Milwaukee expecting to get blown out. If we're healthy, I'm expecting to be competitive in any game we go into. Michael says, Tori, what do you think is the biggest difference between the way Stotts coaches and the way Chauncey coaches? Chauncey is good. Because he coaches defensively. And Stotts just ran drop scheme, didn't hold players accountable, didn't switch things up, just sat there like, well, we are the worst defense in the league. I'm just going to run drop scheme and not do anything to even try anything else. Like, okay, people would make this excuse for Stotts. And it drove me crazy. He doesn't have the defensive personnel. What do you want him to do? Because he would just run drop scheme and it would get picked apart. He'd run drop scheme against Luka, who loves playing against drop scheme. He would run drop scheme against Chris Paul, you know, a couple years younger back when he scored. And he'd say, and people would defend him by saying, what do you expect him to do? He doesn't have good defensive players. Well, I would always say at least mix things up to keep other teams off balance. Like, you are the worst defense in the league. Doing what you've been doing makes the least amount of sense possible. At least try something else. What's the worst that can happen? You're still the worst defense in the league? Okay, what's the difference? At least you tried to be better than the worst defense in the league. But people would sit here and say, well, he can't do anything. He's just the worst defense in the league. He can't do it. He can't do anything. And he wouldn't try anything different. It was almost like, well, we're just going to accept being the worst defense in the league. He came out in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals playing drop scheme on Steph Curry. Like, and then was defensive about it and got bullied almost into playing different defensive schemes the rest of the series, and the defense was better. Okay? Because the national media was just lit a fire under him after he ran drop scheme against Steph Curry in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals back in 2019. But that's what drove me crazy, is then Games 2, Games 3, Games 4, we didn't run drop scheme. We played up at the level of the screen. We hedged. We played more aggressive on pick and rolls. And the defense was better. So all the people saying, what do you expect him to do? There's nothing he can do. Our personnel just absolutely sucks. All he can do is run drop scheme. then why did our defense look better in games 2, games 3, games 4? We barely lost all 3 of those games, right? Imagine if the players had had experience running those defensive schemes over the course of the season so they had the timing and the details down. You're probably talking about the difference between losing and winning a couple of those games. You're probably talking about the difference between that being a sweep and that potentially being a long series. Maybe the Blazers have a chance to go to the NBA Finals. That roster wasn't the best. Dame and CJ and Rodney Hood carried it. So, I mean, it was the first time they ran that defense all year, and it was better than what they had been running all year. I mean, yeah, so that was my whole thoughts on defensive stuff with Stotts. But I don't want to... I could talk for 30 more minutes about the stuff that Terry Stotts did and whatnot. But, look who we have. He is here. He has arrived. Can he hear me, though? Okay, cool. Now you can hear me. Awesome. My voice is like dying right now, but it's worth it. What's up? Please talk. Oh wait, no, your audio isn't working. Hold on. Wait. Okay, try again. You're working now.
Awesome win, man.
Great
what a second half.
Yeah, give me your thoughts on literally everything as I just sit back here and don't talk.
Well, it felt like even though we were down 5 at halftime and we got down double digits a few times, we had like an answer every time in the first half, even though we couldn't quite get over the hump. And then the third quarter and fourth quarter, man, it was just amazing. Like, so many people made plays. And once again, it was a team effort. Ant got going finally. I thought he did a really good job of attacking the basket and trying to throw down. That's what we've been asking him to do. Got him to the line 8 times. And then Nas had some incredible finishes in this game, some good cuts to the basket. Winslow made some plays down the stretch. Watford made some plays. Grant, of course, has the one where he puts Zion on skates and somehow gets to the basket and quick dunks it. Then he hits a 3 right after that off a nice pass. I forget if it was Winslow or Watford, a skip pass. Just great all-around team basketball, and it's really fun to watch this team play that way, especially missing 2 of our starters. And I think you're muted.
I am, absolutely. I told you I didn't want to talk anymore.
Yeah.
I gave my heart and soul for an hour and a half. And my voice box. I also gave that.
I was so disappointed when I saw Dame wasn't playing, and then I found out about it too. But just seeing him, how happy he was that we won. Yeah. And I guess he was talking crap to fans courtside and stuff. That's awesome to see. But
I didn't see him after
this
the
team,
game.
I mean,
unfortunately, I don't know what clip you're talking about.
Yeah, he was very excited after the game. I think he's seeing, because the reason why he was mad is because like he was thinking like us fans, like, oh man, if we get this game too and beat the Pelicans, man, this is like really special, right? And it just, I think he was bummed that, you know, it would have been really tough. I mean, it would have been a tough game even with Dame, but let alone without him. So I think when he was out, he was just bummed that this was like a chance for them to really start to put together a magical run, or keep it going, I should say. And I think him being able to watch his team win again without him, man, it's just, and it's not like, you were saying this earlier, it's not like in past when CJ scores like 44 against Minnesota or whatever and we win because someone just went crazy, right? It was like up and down the roster, everyone contributed. And even like someone like Eubanks, who has been much aligned as our backup center, needing to be a spot that we need to address and improve, even with like free agents out there. And why did we sign him and all that? Like, he's done nothing but do his job all season, and he's been solid. And I don't even know if you can like question that we need a backup center at the moment. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to have a little bit more depth there, I guess, especially in case we didn't have Nurkic. But like he's done his job these last two games. It was like my main concern this season is when Nurkic missed games, which we knew he would. Like what's going to happen to this team? And last night we kind of got away with it because Charlotte didn't really have. I mean, Plumlee's kind of a shell of himself, even though he had a decent game last night. Like it really didn't hurt us, but tonight against Valanciunas and Zion and stuff, you'd think that was going to be a much bigger deal. And Eubanks played great.
Yeah. Dude, I'm just looking at their schedule right now, looking at their points given up over this road trip. There has not been a game where they've given up more than 107 points. And in the past two games, they've given up 95 points. I mean, remember when it was like an accomplishment to give up less than 120 points in a game? Like, almost every loss, it was because we're giving up 120 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, no team has scored 120 points against us all season long. I mean, it's just crazy how the bar has changed. Like, how many times did we give up, at least when we were trying to win games, less than 100 points last year? This is 2 games in a row. We've given up 95. Against, I mean, a bad Charlotte team, but against a playoff team in New Orleans. Even the game we lost against Phoenix, we just didn't score. We only gave up 102 points. Mm-hmm. The game before that against Phoenix, we gave up 106 points.
Yeah. I think there was a couple of outlier games last year and the year before. There was a game against the Lakers, the Derrick Jones year, where we played pretty good defense. But like outside of those outlier games, like 1 or 2 a year, yeah, it never happened. So it's really amazing that they're getting it done. And yeah, I mean, they're not really doing it like any way that's not sustainable. And that's what I'm encouraged about. It's all stuff that can still be improved, and they're still not perfect on rotations. I mean, no team is, but like they're still making a lot of mistakes, but they're showing that effort and flying around. They're still giving up way too many rebounds, stuff like that. But they're just finding ways to get stops, and it's really cool. It's like that gritty, gutsy, tough team that Chauncey's been talking about now for 2 seasons, and it's actually like showing up and manifesting on the court, and it's really fun to watch. And then we still have the guys like Ant and Dame and Jerami Grant now that can just take over a game scoring wise too, and it's like we can win that way if we have to, but we haven't really had to do that. But those guys have stepped up when they've needed to.
So somebody asked me earlier, what is my seeding prediction for the Blazers at this point?
Gosh.
And I said I can't because I don't know what expectations to put on this team because of how well they're playing. And at this, like, I think they have a chance at a 1 seed, but then again, the West is still loaded. I mean, the Blazers are only a half game ahead of. If we go back to around the NBA real quick, they are a half game ahead of Phoenix and Denver and only a game ahead of Memphis, right? So obviously it's still jam-packed, but I mean, that was a difficult question that I got asked, so I'm just going to extend that to you right now and see what you say.
I think it's pretty clear that Utah is going to be the 1 seed all year, right? They're too good to ever give that up, and I think we're pretty clearly the 2nd seed, so that's how it'll finish. Utah won us too, right?
I think bold prediction on November 19th, I think we win by double digits.
Against the Jazz?
Against the Jazz. I think we win by double digits at home. Oh, I forgot to mute my mic for that. Whatever. I don't care.
I'd like to see how the Jazz are doing over the next week before I make that prediction, but
I'm saying put it on the record right now. Somebody remind me in the Discord server on November 19th before or right after the game that I predicted right now. You can clip it, put it in the clips section of the Discord, someone. That would be cool. We're pimping out the Discord right now, so go join it. Link in the description box below. But somebody clip this. On November 19th, the Portland Trail Blazers will beat the Utah Jazz by double digits. put a stamp on it. That's a Charles Barkley guarantee.
Be careful, because there's a certain someone in chat earlier that I got into it with that would not let anything go, even though you've admitted several times that we were wrong.
I saw you arguing about that. I'm like, thankfully Eric's actually in chat right now, and he can just argue in chat with it, and I can focus on actually talking about the game, since that person wants to derail it with the same stuff that we talked about like 5 times on a post-game stream this year.
With him. Yeah.
I think at this point, he just wants us to focus on him. He only comes in here to say that. Yep. I don't think he's been in here since that conversation. Maybe he has. Maybe I love to be wrong. He knows who he is, and hopefully he says something in chat soon, so he shows
He's not. He's
just trying to stick it to us, man. Even though we've explained that he's missing context that is very crucial.
I mean, let me just say this again. Jerami Grant has been great, and I'm happy we have him. I was happy what we got him for. I was happy that he wanted to be here in Portland versus the whole previous season when he didn't want to be here. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he's been better than I think pretty much anyone could imagine. I don't think anyone.
He's shooting 44% from 3. We shouldn't expect him to keep shooting this well from 3. You know, not too far off, but 44% from 3, dude, is insane for a starting forward, especially next to Dame and Ant. Like, how do you load up on Dame and Ant? You got this guy they could just kick the ball to that'll shoot 44% from 3 right now.
Yeah, and I thought he'd be good, you know, but obviously he's been better than I could have imagined. I still think this game was perfect because he got to match up with Brandon Ingram instead of chasing like a quick guard around all game. So I liked him tonight, especially on defense, because he was guarding more of a player of his capabilities on defense.
Yeah, but in regards to that argument you got before, basically the gist of it is me and you weren't keen on Jerami Grant when he wanted to be the number 1 option and didn't want to play in Portland, right? Then when... What's up?
Well, let me just go back even further. Dame, from the Olympics, tried to get Jerami Grant, because Jerami Grant had a deal with Detroit that he could have asked out, and they would have tried to accommodate him as best as possible. Dame knew that and tried to get him all Olympics, so did KD. And Jerami Grant told both of them, no, I don't want to leave Detroit. I'm happy there. I'm fine being there as the number 1 option. Don't bother me right now. And so all of that season, even up through the deadline, through the playoffs, it was, or not the playoffs, but like the play-in, when right around that time where Dame, or when New Orleans beat us and we lost our second lottery pick, and then it was like, oh crap, like even if we traded for him not knowing if he'd want to stay here, like we don't really have much to give up, right? But that all changed because right around that time he decided he wanted to be here and he wanted to leave Detroit, and this was the only place he wanted to be. And him and Dame, that bond they formed year before, finally paid off for Dame, and they started working out together and practicing together, and it was like mid-April when they started planning like he was already on the team. So like ever since then I changed my mind on that. I was happy about that, but
I wasn't even going to provide a bunch of context because the people that want to argue with us on that are ignoring context. That's why I was going to do it very clear cut. Like, he wanted to be the number 1 option in Detroit, right? So he didn't want to be here and didn't want to accept the role that he'd have here. Why would we want a guy that didn't want to be here and wouldn't accept the role that he'd have here, right? This team is playing really well because everybody's accepted their role and is playing their role to the best of their abilities and is playing for the team, right? Mm-hmm. So, but at the time, we want to be the number 1 option, didn't want to be here. Okay, didn't want him. And then we lose the Pelicans pick. It seemed like we would have had to have traded the 7th overall pick for him. So it's like, dude that doesn't want to be here, doesn't want to embrace his role, and we have to trade the 7th overall pick for him, which probably isn't worth it. No, I didn't want to do that. But then it comes out, oh, he actually wants to be here, and he has a handshake agreement with Detroit's front office that they will accommodate him. So then, okay, well, he ended up being gettable for a 2025 Milwaukee first. So then it's like, yeah, we want him for that, and if he wants to be here and is willing to embrace his role, Yeah, that's a completely different situation. But then we have these same people that will come back in every stream chat. Well, it's specifically one person that will come back in every stream chat and sit here and say, "You guys didn't want him. Look how that's turning out. You guys were like holding us to a situation that was no longer relevant." You know what I mean? Like that's
and the reason why I didn't think Grant would fit is because, I mean, it's shown this year the exact reason. He's terrible at screen navigation. And we knew that before. And that's why we made comments like Herb Jones would be a better fit if you're going to play the same defense we've been playing and just expect one of our forwards to guard whatever the best player is no matter what and not do anything about it. So, he's not good in that role. I still feel like we're misusing him sometimes, and we could do even better if we didn't have him as that person, because I think other players like Hart would be better in that role, and Grant would be better as the help defender. But he is really good at help defense and really good at just individual isolation defense if there's not a screen. So, but that's never been the role of the forward that we've needed on defense. So he wasn't going to come and solve all our defensive problems. And if we end up giving up the 7th pick or multiple firsts and unprotecting the Chicago pick to give up 2 future firsts or whatever we would have had to do prior to getting him leveraging himself to come here, then you're talking about not having Sharpe, possibly not having any future picks to make future moves, and would getting just Jerami Grant be enough? And my answer to that still would probably be no. I'm glad we got him for cheap, and we have Sharpe, and we didn't have to unprotect our pick with Chicago, so we can still have that option if a trade down the road becomes available, or if, let's just say, we give up our pick this year, and then starting next year, we'd have all our future picks again to trade, and maybe we can make a big splash in addition to Jerami Grant next summer or something like that. But yeah, it was a case where I didn't want that to be our all-in move, and it wouldn't have made us contenders with just that move. And we still were able to make other moves. And let's not forget, I mean, this comes from the same source that I got that Jerami Grant trade 2 months before, and also Jake L. Fisher reported the same thing, that, and actually Shams reported this as well, that we tried to trade Hart and a first-round pick and that potential lottery pick for Jerami Grant at the trade deadline after the trade for the CJ trade happened. So if that's true, we wouldn't have Hart and we wouldn't have had that future pick. If New Orleans didn't make the playoffs or whatever, we wouldn't have had that lottery pick. So that would have been crazy. And yeah, so I mean, I'm glad that didn't happen, and I'm glad everything worked out the way it did, and I'm glad we still have Hart, and I'm glad we still have Sharpe and Grant, and he's been great, and there's no bones about it. I was wrong about his fit. Even being used wrong, he's still been really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just context is important and people ignore it, and it gets frustrating having to re-explain it numerous times to people that just want to ignore it so they can try and own us, Eric. But yeah, no, I was down for Jerami Grant for the Milwaukee first when he wanted to be here. Mm-hmm. I mean, completely different. That matters. That matters, man. I don't want guys that don't want to be here. That never goes good. That's not good for a locker room. That's not good in terms of, okay, we have to have players that play hard, right? Like, after a season where, oh, these guys aren't playing hard enough, the effort's not good enough, why would you want to bring in somebody that doesn't want to be here?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, especially, coming off of Norm and Rocco and CJ and stuff. So, but the other thing is, too, man, that trade was a steal. I knew, like, I said this on a stream 2 months beforehand, that it looked like we were going to get him for that package or something similar, maybe Keon 2 or something. But it was basically the same trade. And I still couldn't believe that that's all it was going to take to get Grant, considering, what they ended up getting Duran, I think, for that pick too. So they ended up doing pretty well with it as well. They can say they got Duran for Grant, basically, and a couple seconds. But I still can't believe it only took the Milwaukee pick. I thought when we lost that that lottery pick, it was going to end up screwing the Jerami Grant trade, and I'm so thankful that it didn't because he's a great player, and it looks like he's going to be here for at least 4 more seasons after this one too, because with the way he's playing, I mean, they would send him today if they could.
So we got another troll in chat. Says, know your role, you candy ass. Yeah, Corey. He meant Tori. He says, yeah, Tori, you was out your damn mind talking about Sharpe like you was crazy. Tori, you was popping all crap on Sharpe, knock it off. When was I ever talking bad about Shaedon Sharpe?
That was me, and I instantly took it back, and I apologize for that. Yeah, that was
I
did it once.
Eric did, but
one stream, yeah. That was Eric, not Tori or Corey.
Or Corey. I mean, come on, man. You get out of here with that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was really concerned based on his after workout interviews that maybe his basketball IQ wasn't high. I fully admit I was wrong about that. He seems to have a very high IQ. He picks up the game really quickly, as evidenced by how well he's doing in just a few games after not playing for a year. So I admit that I was questioning his basketball IQ and whether his mental part of the game was ever going to be good enough to be a star. And I fully admit I was wrong. I changed my opinion, or said I was wrong, like basically within that stream. And I've said that ever since. I'm not afraid to say that. And then during the draft, if that's what you're talking about, we didn't react either way, positive or negative, about Sharpe, because at the time, if you guys all remember, we were wondering if we were trading the pick. We had no idea if we were keeping it or not for several minutes or several hours, I guess, until Cronin spoke after the draft. So like we're just like, okay, do we get excited that we have Sharpe, or are we trading him to Toronto, or like what's going on? Like no one had any idea. And we were just waiting for that shoe to drop, because the rumors out there is if Sharpe fell to 7, like OKC and Toronto were both really interested in him. So are we trading Sharpe for 12 and Dort, or what are we doing? And so, that was the sole reason for our reaction during the draft. But ever since, during the draft, I also said that Dame was not mad about the pick. He was actually 100% on board, and that the whole organization thinks Sharpe is a star. And ever since then, I've completely agreed that was the right pick, the right move not to trade that pick.
Meanwhile, other people were saying that Dame hated the pick.
Right. Yeah. And Dame was mad that we kept it and all that, which wasn't true at all.
That was a different YouTube channel.
And now Sharpe, like it's obvious that Dame loves Sharpe. So, but anyways, I've just like with Grant, once I got all the information, I completely changed my mind, and I'm fully on board with the Sharpe. I've always been on board ever since the beginning of last season, when it seemed kind of evident that our team was missing something or struggling, that I prefer to rebuild or retool around Dame with a youth movement. And I couldn't be more happier to have Sharpe and Grant both on the team.
Yeah. I only responded to that because I was really confused. I was like, how can anybody think that I was hating on Sharpe when I put him in like 10 thumbnails over the course of the offseason before we even drafted him? Like, my ideal offseason has Jerami Grant next to OG Anunoby next to Shaedon Sharpe. We didn't get OG Anunoby, but Josh Hart's been just fine, you know what I mean? So, I got 2 of the 3. So that was cool, but I mean, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say with Sharpe, like, I mean, he was by far the biggest mystery in a long time in the draft.
You don't have to excuse it.
No, I'm just saying, like, I mean, anyone who guessed he was going to be good, I mean, without actually seeing him, like, in private workouts and stuff, it's hard. It was just a guess, and I was a little worried about him, and I was wrong. Like he's great, and I'm happy he's a Blazer.
Well, the draft is a crapshoot. Nobody's ever fully right. Like, if you're mad because you disagree with somebody in regards to their draft opinion and yours being different, you probably need to calm down a little bit. The draft is something to learn off of. I knocked Anthony Edwards for some of his interviews a couple of years ago, and then he ended up being great, and I said, okay, I'm not going to knock people for interviews anymore, right? So then when the Sharpe thing came up, and you were saying that, Eric, I was saying, well, after that Anthony Edwards thing, I'm just not even going to knock anyone for interviews. Yeah. And now, after the Shaedon Sharpe thing, I feel like me and you probably neither of us are going to knock anyone for interviews, right? Well, in pre-draft.
Yeah.
Unless it's absolutely insane.
See, Anthony Edwards he said something like, basketball isn't my true love. I'd rather be playing football. It's just I'm better at basketball or whatever. So that was more like a mental, like, is he going to put in the time to work to be good at basketball type question, which I think is also a valid question. That, but like, with Sharpe, it was more like people were asking him like X's and O's questions, and he just had no idea how to answer them, and that scared me because like I don't know. I looking back on it, I fully blame his agent for not preparing him for those situations, like, because you have to know he's going to get interviewed after that. So like, give him some talking points and give him some stuff about the team, because like they'll be like, well, how would you fit in with like a Dame pick and roll and stuff, and he'd be like, what? Like, it's like, dude, give him a little bit of stuff that you know is going to be brought up. Like, I just felt his agent did a horrible job of putting him in the right spot, but it also sounds like he kind of did, or there was a few teams he wanted to be with, and didn't want to go to certain other teams, so maybe there was some gamesmanship going on there. But yeah, so I agree. It's hard to tell on that based on the position he was put in, if he wasn't going to be a good interviewer at that stage.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just, you learn things from the draft process in regards to hits and misses, like, okay, well, maybe I was too hard on a prospect for this thing, whether it's an interview or whether it's something on the court, right? Or maybe I underrated a prospect in this regard. Like, the draft is a crapshoot. The GMs that are paid to get the draft right don't always get it right, obviously. So don't be mad because you disagree with someone. Like, I don't understand getting mad about it. Just disagree with someone. It's not a big deal. Like, I disagreed with Eric on stream too, and me and you disagreed about multiple draft prospects. I remember you got mad at me for saying I didn't think Keegan Murray had like true star level upside, and that still remains to be seen, by the way. But
yeah, for sure.
It's, and the people say you're wrong because of Summer League, but I mean, nothing in Summer League surprised me with Keegan Murray. It's will he ever have the ball handling and creation ability to be that true star? Or is he going to be, Tobias Harris, right, or somebody like that? That's the debate. Or so
his teammate Harrison
Barnes. So I mean, Keegan Murray looks good as a rookie. 9 games, averaging 13 a game in 32 minutes. Like, for a rookie, that's good. He's still 22 years old, but. I don't know, what's his upside? So that's the thing. The draft is a crapshoot. I don't even know the answer to that in Keegan Murray. But how Keegan Murray pans out will probably change the way how I view a future prospect.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I was, during the draft, I was a little disappointed too, because I wanted Mathurin to fall to 7. I had been very clear on that during the draft process. And then he goes at number 6. And that was... so I'm still like dealing with that, right when we pick, and then but yeah, like, so I nailed Mathurin, but I mean, we were both, at least so far I saw you answer this question earlier, or try to answer it the best you could, but like, we were both wrong so far about Johnny Davis, who's looked absolutely terrible too. So like you said, it's a crapshoot. You're never gonna hit 100%, and anyone who expects both Tori and I to put our opinions out there and hit 100% of the time is never going to. That we have our misses too, and not a single person watching is 100% on their stuff either. So I mean, everyone can claim their oh, I knew this, I knew that, but you never bring up the times where you missed as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's always funny, like, the people that get mad at us when we're wrong about something are also the people that will get mad if we say we were right about something.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
but
which is funny.
Yeah, to tie this all back to the question you asked me, was I last year was certain this team was going to be a top 4 seed. I felt like they underachieved under Stotts. They had the right coach now. They were going to start playing the right way. And so I put it out there on my Twitter. I left it as my pin tweet all year. Guaranteed for 4th seed, right? And I still got clowned all year, whatever. I'm like gun shy now to like say, oh, they're gonna be a top 4 seed for sure, whatever. Like it's just tough to like predict that after you just were so wrong about the team last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have imagined Dame would be out and we'd tank and stuff like that, but yeah.
And to be fair, that the Sharpe take, you defended, you owned up to it and whatnot, and that.
I shouldn't have used the language I used. Yeah.
Yeah, at the time I heavily disagree with that, and but I don't, like, why are we even focusing on that? The only reason I even respond to that, if he was saying, you said that, I wouldn't have even responded to that. Like, whatever, it's somebody trolling about Sharpe or whatever. I was just like, Corey, you mean me? Not me. Like,
you're always.
I'm willing to take the fall. I was just confused. Because if you're gonna come in here calling us candy asses or whatever, or talking trash, at least know who is who. If you can't even know who is who, you probably shouldn't be calling us anything, because you can't even figure out our real names.
Get the right candy ass.
Yeah. Sure. But let me thank a couple donos. Shout out Emma Lom. What's up? With the $5 dono, says Rip City LFG, which stands for Let's Effing Go. Earlier, Zach asked what the effing stands for. It's either freaking or Fruit Loop or something. Use your imagination. But he says, Rip City LFG, if all goes well and we make a deep run, can we resign Hart and Jerami, or is that over the cap? If we can't keep both, which do you pick? We can't keep both of them because we'll have bird rights on both of them, which means we can go over the salary cap in order to resign them. Correct?
Early bird rights on Hart.
We won't have full bird rights on him?
No, because he signed his current contract's a 3-year contract. So if he was on New Orleans still, he would have full bird rights, but it would technically only be 2 years into his contract if he opts out.
Early bird rights means we can re-sign him to 175% his previous contract. What is he making this year? 12.5? Like
12.9, so right around 13. So yeah, it's like 19.
We can re-sign him for about $22.5 million. 22.5 million.
So as long as he doesn't get more than that, which I'd be surprised. So most likely but yeah, it all comes down to whether Jody's willing to finally pay the tax. If we do well this year and we stay under the tax, I think they'll go all in next year and won't be afraid to pay everyone.
Yeah.
And I also think Jeremy's already factored in, and I think they've already agreed to that extension, and it's just waiting because you can't sign him to a 4-year extension until 6 months after the trade is official, which was July 7th. So we're talking about right at the beginning of the year, being the 6 months, and I think
you are lagging.
I think it's pretty much guaranteed that he'll sign by then.
Yeah, you were lagging pretty crazy. Shout out Jackson Burgess, $10 Australian dono, says, whoops, I fell asleep after the buzzer. Let's go Blazers? ? What is the question mark for, Jackson? Let's go Blazers.
No question anymore.
There's an exclamation mark. 9 of them for the 9 wins. What's up, Jackson Burgess? Yeah, you must, if you're in Australia, I assume you're Australia since you're donating Australian currency. I have no idea what time it is. Let me look up. What time is it in Australia right now? I'm going to Google that. What time is it in Australia? 4:45 p.m. Okay, so you're sleeping taking an afternoon nap. All right. Thank you, Jackson, for the 10 Australian dollar dodo. Liam says it's 3:45. What's up?
Speaking of Josh Hart, he tweeted 38 minutes ago, "I love this team."
I'm happy he loves his team.
I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he just accepts his option and then gets paid later.
Yeah.
Maybe we sign him to an extension after that where we could have his full bird rights, and maybe we have an under the table agreement to just give him a little more than kind of like what we did with Nurk and Anthony, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And Dame tweeted 2 hours ago, "It's a beautiful thing."
The way he said that. Yeah, I'm not worried about. We'll retain Grant and Hart, and then I think honestly it's a situation where, I mean, long term, I don't know if you need to do too much more. At some point, Sharpe probably develops to the point where he takes that starting small forward job, right? And like hopefully he can play as good of defense as Josh Hart can. That's the thing, he needs to develop defensively. But then in that situation, Josh Hart comes off the bench and plays 30 minutes a game as a sixth man or whatever, and can be that backup guard. And maybe you still have Gary Payton II. Maybe that's someone else. Nas you should still have here. I mean, if that's the thing with Sharpe and the Sharpe pick and being able to get Grant without trading that 7th overall pick, is if Sharpe can truly develop and live up to his potential, he makes the Blazers a contender, right? Like in the next 2 or 3 years, right? I mean, look how good he is right now at 19. And then think about how much he can develop in 2 years. Like rookies that look bad can become all-stars in their third year. Look at like Darius Garland, right? So as far as Sharpe goes, like this team already kind of looks like a contender right now, right? This team might be a contender right now. And then they're still young enough that as guys continue to get better, Simons continues to get better, Nas, Shaedon Sharpe especially though. And then you maybe improve the roster around the edges, maybe get a better backup center or whatever. I mean, then this team is looking good. I don't know if you need anything drastic. I think you might just need to retain Josh Hart and Jerami Grant and then let Shaedon Sharpe, you don't have to pressure him into being the starting 3 in order for the Blazers to win, but he can grow into that role and take over that role for Hart, and you can move Hart to the bench because Hart can play any role and can play, 3-4 positions, whatever. So I think that's the future for this team. Assuming they make the playoffs this year, their pick will convey to Chicago. Then in the offseason, they will have all their future first. So if something comes along that's a no-brainer, then you do it. Maybe, you try and make a play in the sign-and-trade market. If it makes sense financially, it'll be hard given the payroll. But you have options where it's like, okay, we're fine as is. But if we have a no-brainer, then we'll take it and make our team even better, which is a completely different mode than the Blazers have been in, where they're just running it back, but it's not good enough, right? So that's the good part. But then also having Sharpe gives the Blazers a potential contender window of like a decade. Because 6 years from now, Simons and Sharpe together, and Dame will be 38. I mean, Dame could still be playing for this team, right? And Dame can be playing the CP3 role, or maybe he's averaging like 15 points per game, 6 assists, knocking down threes, right? Like, I don't know what Dame's going to be at 38. It's hard to speculate, but Sharpe and Simons could both be like legitimate stars. Like legitimate stars 6 years from now. And then who knows what the rest of the roster looks like, but Grant would be, 33 if we still have him somehow? I mean, that'd be a long time to have him, but he'd still only be 33. He could still be a really good forward, right? Like, you have and that's 6 years of, 6 off seasons, draft picks and whatnot. If you build the team the right way, keep building it the right way, you have a potential 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year championship window if Shaedon Sharpe pans out. That's why it was worth taking him with the 7th overall pick for that upside compared to just trading it for a Jerami Grant where, okay, yeah, we have Jerami Grant. Hopefully we're good enough now because we don't have anything else to bank on in terms of a young player with a ton of upside to improve. And then in the future, what are we going to do?
And yeah, that Dame timeline, if he's 36, Sharpe's 23 then. And I think that's what's been so cool about this season is seeing this team succeed without Dame, and that's going to prove even more that we could play Dame off ball more often and get away with it, or potentially have him get more shots, better quality shots, without having to have him drain his energy trying to create every single possession. And that's going to be key as he gets older. If you had two scorers like that, Simons and Sharpe, that can just take over games, but you still have Dame out there spacing the floor with his gravity and stuff as well, but not having to exert that much energy, so he can still play respectable defense, hopefully. That's very intriguing, and I can't wait to see what happens. Absolutely. But this is also why I thought, even if Sharpe wasn't ready, I thought we had to force feed him minutes. It's a little tricky when you are based on accountability and trying to make players earn it, but that's so much cooler now. Sharpe has earned minutes too and played well in those minutes, because this development, the more minutes we can get him. I was a little disappointed. I think it was the Heat. The more we can get him in games learning this year, I mean, he could help us win a series or maybe even more, just by having him develop this year, let alone how good he could be in a couple years.
Yep, absolutely. Anything else you want to talk about on this post-game stream?
Yeah,
I know you weren't able to be on it for a while. Go ahead.
I have one more pressing question.
Okay.
I love the new jerseys. Sorry if you don't, but I love them. Yeah. The PDX ones, and I want to get a jersey. So I need chat's help. I do not have, let's just say I have a very checkered past with my jerseys of having a player, either something happens to them or they get traded or something shortly after I get their jersey. I mean, I haven't Dame jersey, but it's an all-star jersey. So I don't know if that counts as breaking the jinx or not, because it's got the Blazer logo on it still. So what do I do? Do I get a jersey and just hope that I'm not a jinx, or do I not get one and just be because we're talking I mean, those who've paid attention closely, I have Sebastian Telfair, Darius Miles, Greg Oden, and Martell Webster are my jerseys.
You're getting a Greg Brown III jersey.
I don't want to. I mean, I like GB3, but I don't. Yeah.
Well, get somebody you like, but if things go wrong, it's not drastically, detrimental, right? Get Eubanks. You're an Oregon State guy, right? You're an Oregon State guy. He went to the local university, and it's a PDX jersey, so it makes sense. I mean, dude, how many people are going to be
those are all a long time ago, though.
Yeah, but how many people are going to be rolling around Moda Center with the Drew Eubanks jersey, PDX jersey? How many people are ever going to buy one of those? You're going to be unique, Eric. You're going to stand out.
No, I mean, he is from Portland, so they're definitely...
People are going to say, oh my God, is that a dude with a Drew Eubanks jersey? And then they're going to say, oh my goodness, that's the dude from Blazers Uprise. All right? They will notice the jersey before they notice it's you.
Yeah. I mean, I really want to get an Anthony Simons one. But yeah, I'm scared.
Okay. I say Drew Eubanks. You say Anthony Simons. Who else do you want to put into this poll?
Well, Sharpe would be the other one, but...
And then I say...
and Dame. I don't know.
Oh, God, no.
Well, technically Gary Payton's from Oregon State, too.
Okay, Gary Payton the second?
I don't want to do my guy Jabari like that. No.
Okay, Jabari. Jabari would make sense, too. Yeah. What PDX jersey should Eric buy? We got Eubanks, Simon, Sharpe, and Jabari. Okay. There's the chat poll. I vote Eubanks. I actually can't vote on my end if I make the poll. So.
Oh, man.
Early lead is Drew Eubanks. You're gonna regret asking chat this question.
Yeah.
You need to get like Mountain Dew. You need to get a Mountain Dew hat. Colorway almost matches.
What if I get it as like a president?
I don't know what you said because you lagged. Beep boop.
What if I get it like someone like my mom who's in chat right now gets it for me for Christmas or something?
Well, I mean, you see what chat wants, Eric's mom. Chat wants Eubanks. No, it's tied between Eubanks and Sharpe. Oh, no. Oh, now it's Sharpe. Eric has bad luck, though. This is not good. You're going to curse Sharpe? Oh, no.
Maybe.
Eubanks. Don't let him curse Sharpe. What are y'all doing? You got to vote Eubanks. Don't let him curse Shaedon Sharpe.
15 years ago, I just had horrible taste in players, and it's all changed, right? I've become a smarter basketball fan.
Call you Laggedy Ann.
Told you I was sketchy.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, I mean, I didn't necessarily pick all those jerseys. Some of them were just like clearance. Yeah.
Eubanks is now it's tied, but it's Eubanks is highlighted, which means that wins the tiebreaker.
Lennox Lane has a good suggestion. Robert Pack jersey. That was my guy. He didn't stay here. I think he only played 1 year here, but
you should just get Hoops Chalk on the back of your jersey.
I had that was my favorite poster. It was Pack to the Future. It was like the Back to the Future Flames of the DeLorean, but it was Robert Pack. Yeah.
Is that blue like poster? That bluish looking poster?
No, it's like black and orange. Yeah.
Whatever your avatar was. It's tied right now. I'm about to end this chat poll.
Ooh, Billups. Interesting.
Ooh, Billups would be kind of dope. And then he resigns.
No. Jody Allen again.
Jody Allen. just her full name on the back, just Jody Allen. And then instead of the number, it should be a dollar
just
sign.
Sell or something. Please sell.
I mean, this year decides like how bad I want Jody to sell the team. Or like the next year. If the team's really good, is she willing to like pay a bunch of tax next year? Because if she is, then I'm fine with her owning the team. I don't know.
There is, well, I mean, even this, I don't know if they're planning on keeping her. Oh, man, am I lagging again?
Yes. All right, I ended the poll. We'll see what it comes out at. 34% Dewbanks, 33% Sharpe. Get a Corey Jez jersey.
Oh, wow. You ended at the perfect time.
It was tied when I ended it, to be honest. I was going to say, if it's tied, you get your choice. But chat decides.
But no, it'll be interesting because knowing that if they re-signed Hart and Grant, most likely going to be pre-tax next year, but they could at the deadline this year add someone and go into the tax without having to give someone up.
Yeah,
because we have an open roster and we have that rope.
Dude, the lag I can't.
Till pretty much the deadline. I'm sorry.
I can't understand anything with this lag, man. It's real bad.
Right.
I kind of get what you're saying. What do they need to add, though, is kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't even think they necessarily need to add anything specific. Like, if they get a no-brainer, sure. But it's like, that's the thing, is this team hasn't struggled yet this season, so I don't even know. Like, if they go through a 3-4 game losing streak, we might be able to identify, okay, this could be a problem. This is something we need to upgrade. But they've played so well, especially missing guys. It's like, I don't know what they need, if they need anything. So that's where I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out, to see, like, okay, are we still going to play this well? And then when we get everybody healthy, are we just going to be, like, the best team in the league? Or is it a situation where, okay, we're going to struggle at some point and I'd be able to identify what we need?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
Anything else you want to try and get in? No, it's fine. It's fine.
No. Thanks for having me on for a few minutes, and hope everyone has a good night. What a win, man. So excited. I think we're 6-1 on the road now.
6-1, yep.
That's insane.
6-1.
Jeez,
absolutely insane.
Will
you be back on... Go ahead.
Well, a few of those wins are without Dame now, too. Like,
yeah. All of them without GP.
I should be back, in time on Saturday for the name of the stream, but not 100% sure, but should be.
Cool. Hopefully we're talking about a 5-1 road trip.
Yep.
Which is insane.
Yep.
Absolutely insane. Like, I'm going to go watch back the Memphis postgame stream and look at the next 5 games and just look back on what we said before this 6-game road trip in terms of, like, okay, 2-4 would be okay.
Mm-hmm. Well,
4-1.
And then we got the bad news that Ant was going to be out.
Yeah.
For the 2 Phoenix games, and it was just... I still don't know how we won one.
Never count this team out. They can beat anyone with anyone, apparently, and they can come back from any deficit, and that's just how... I don't know. I guess that's how it's going to be.
And Dallas is down right now. They just lost back-to-back games to Washington and Orlando, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, those teams all down, man. Don't let them get back. This is the time to publish yourself, so...
Yeah, absolutely. And Christian Wood, we'll see if he plays next game. We might have a watch party stream for the next game. I'm planning on doing a watch party stream. We'll see, though. Thank you to everybody who donated during this stream. Anyway, welcome to starter level membership, Peter Hollins. Thank you. He said, I'm having delusions of grandeur. Could I please just envision the Western Conference Finals here? I mean, honestly, this team is making me too excited. Must not dream too big. Scrit. Yeah, I don't think there is a dream that's too big right now. I think anything is realistic for this team. Who knows how good this goes, but you got a lot of Western Conference favorites that have struggled this season or have question marks around them. The West is wide open for the taking, and the Blazers look like they might be the team to take it this year. Like, I can't rule out a 1 seed. I can't rule out a playoff run. Still a long season to go, but couldn't have asked for a better start right now. So thank you for becoming a channel member, Peter Hollins. And if you want to become a channel member, click that join button down below. Also, check out the description for links to our Twitter pages as well as our Discord. Our Discord server, link in the description box below. We are trying to upgrade and do a bunch of cool stuff for that, including game threads. And, if you're into gaming and whatnot, we're going to set up like a gaming section. And you'll be able to opt into certain games so you can get tagged when people are trying to play specific games, that sort of thing. Want to try and increase the community over there and kind of tie together more people, bring together more people. That's the goal here at Blazers Uprise. So anyway, thank you to Eric. Thank you for joining me to end this stream, even though your internet's hating on you. Go ahead.
If you're into good singing voices and kind of like a cappella type singing, go check out Peter Hollins.
Yeah, Peter Hollins has a far bigger YouTube channel than this. So always cool to see you in here, Peter. Hope everything's well. And, thank you to everybody for tuning in for this post-game stream. It's been a lot of fun covering games that the Blazers do well in. It's been a lot of fun covering wins. Last night I was thinking, man, I'm getting a little too used to winning. It's weird. When's the losing gonna come? Hopefully it doesn't come this season. We'll see. But yep, thank you to all our mods for moderating. Thank you to our channel members, everyone who donated, and everyone who tuned in. Let's hit that like button on the way out of here. That's the easiest way to support the channel, and we will catch you on Saturday. Video coming up tomorrow, which I was worried about making it because it was basically about the Blazers potentially being contenders. I was worried about the Blazers losing today and kind of ruining the vibe for that video, but they get the win, and that video is going to be perfect tomorrow. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. We'll be out between noon and like probably 6, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Analytical video finally dropping. Anyway, we'll catch you on Saturday for a watch party and a post-game show. Until then, hopefully you have a good rest of your Thursday and Friday. As always, peace out. Go Blazers!